Hello there, and welcome to an ad hoc hangout. There it is. So, just an ad hoc hangout to talk about the what Alex and Rand talked about a short while ago. So, take it away.
Well, it's your show, Cliff. You've got to lead the way.
Well, I said a moment ago, just before we went on air, I thought the most amusing line that Rand came out with was God hides angels in the handicapped. And this is at the time where Alex was making references to Rocket Ronnie and G-Man. I thought that was so funny.
The thing is with anything like this, though, there's too much to take in and then talk about it. It was the same with the Ken Ham Bill Nye thing. You just couldn't remember it all. You needed to watch it again first.
Do you know what my favourite line was? It was actually Alex Botton when he turned round and said, "You're my bitch in here, Ran," and then brought up like, how many times did you get boofed in the showers? That was quite funny.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's still evident that we don't know who the real Rand Campbell is, and I think Alex was right on that Rand doesn't even know who the real Rand Campbell is.
Listen, Brock, we all know who the real Rand Campbell is.
Ran, you're as sick as pig shit.
Enjoy my ponage video.
Ran, have your throat fucked any frogs lately?
Listen here, monkey boy. You're lukewarm. You're lukewarm. You're like milk toast. Like toast with milk all over it.
What's the other one he says? You're a gearbox or something?
Hey, Alex.
Hello, Alex.
Yeah, no, keep going on.
Alex, sorry if I hurt your gurgler there when I grabbed it. You grabbed gurgler. I'm sorry, Alex. Sorry.
That's a very good impression.
Well.
Great job, Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alex, I love some of the shit you came out with, and that proper cracked me up.
I was surprised he showed up. But he didn't really have a choice, so maybe.
And now he doesn't have a choice to go to the hospital to get those burns treated.
Yeah, it needs a bit of nappy rash cream.
Well, I think
Get the old Savlon out.
I still think, like I said at the end of it, I still don't know that it's possible to actually get any idea of what the real Rand Campbell is, because I don't think he knows anymore. I think he's so used to acting and putting on different good personas that I think he's lost track himself over the years. So.
Well, if I may offer an analogy, I think he's like a church bell ringer, and all those fucking retards that he hangs about with is just yanking their bell ropes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He talks a lot of kind of salesman talk, so it's a lot of that. But like I just went through to talk to Kat a minute ago, and I was just saying to her that the thing that always gets me is when these guys say, "Oh, you know that God exists," because when they say that to me, I know that they're wrong, and they're proving themselves to be wrong whenever they do it. So it's
Well, it's
but Alex, you just hate God. That's what it is.
God-hater, yeah.
Yeah.
You just love sin.
Yeah, you're just angry with God and you love sinning.
Yeah.
You've got a devil in your bottom. That's what it is.
I hate it the same way as I hate leprechauns and pixies.
Yeah.
He's a reprobate and a god mocker.
That distortion is just perfect. You've just got it. Yeah.
Got it spot on.
Perfect.
So yeah, I mean, for me, that's it for Ran as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it's just a pity that people aren't going to have the same approach. I mean, you might listen to somebody in an hangout, and then it's him fucking ranting, and it's funny for about a minute. But it's like you're getting all these. You get ball cuppers who just facilitate these fucking arseholes, and they do it for their own 15 minutes. Oh look, I've got known for being in G-Man's hangouts. I've got known for, and it's just tragic.
Yeah.
It's tragic that you would think that is even any level of fame or notoriety or 15-minute.
Well,
of
now
what,
come
like
on, he
YouTube.
was on the G-Man was on the Drunken Peasants, and TJ made a video about him. If the amazing atheist knows who you are, that makes you royalty on YouTube. You know the rules.
Yeah,
The only way you can get that famous is if you've ever had a pants-off dance-off or a scholarly academic debate. They're the only ways you can settle arguments on the internet. And if you've engaged in either one of those, and TJ's made a video about you, then you're famous.
Fair play to G-Man for getting TJ's attention and that, and even even Thunderfoot spoke to him, and Dusty eventually did, didn't he? I mean, even though he wiped his fucking arse. No, it's just the people who queue up to go into hangouts with these fucktards.
Yeah.
It's starting to really boil my piss.
Yeah, I've found myself going back and forth and just watching him and then sort of going, what am I doing? Like, I'm watching it. I don't want to watch it, but you just find yourself doing it. And it's like, yes, yeah. I've just started blocking people now, so I don't see stuff. It's like I have to, wean myself off this sort of crap.
Well, but I'm going to have to love you all and leave you because I'm going back to spend some time with my lovely wife. But I will watch this later. So it's nice to see some people I've not been in hangouts with before. So hello.
Great job, Alex.
You have been in hangouts with me before, Alex.
I'm sorry?
You have been in hangouts with me
I think
before.
I have, yeah. And I have sat and
just
laughed
forget
at work listening to you in hangouts before.
Oh, but just one thing, completely off the topic. I was just going to say, citing latest video with the Eric thing post on the wall. I pissed myself. Eric strip.
My artwork up on his wall I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah. Something before you go, Alex. I think to take, if I'm going to take anything away from your discussion, it's going to be when you were talking about why is it you hang around with G-Man and Rocket Ronnie, and Rand Campbell's sentence that came after that, where there was God hides angels in the handicapped.
Yeah, I think G-Man's going to be making a video about this.
But it'll be a nice long ball track at the start, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, Rand Campbell, how can you say that to Alex Botton when Alex Botton dog dropped me?
Oh,
Beckel will tell you.
You heard my impression of G-Man, right?
I'm gonna make a video about that. When? Maybe next week. I'll make a video about that.
The biggest question of all arising from this is this the straw that breaks the camel's back and brings Jason Burns back to complain about Alex?
Oh yeah.
Rand Campbell.
This is it. I think maybe we've inspired him to return. So. Oh, one thing I will show you. Hold on a second. Apart from my fat gut, let me just grab this stuff.
You've heard my G-Man impression, which G-Man has given me his blessing, by the way, to do. Oh, hello.
We've got a new cat. Hello.
Hello.
So this is his first proper appearance in a hangout. He's not really got a name yet. We have been trying Buxton and Menk, and I did try Taffy earlier, but
Menk.
Cat.
Are you spelling that? Because,
it's a character from a book.
well, the thing is, you see, that's it's a word that me and my brother have always used, and it refers to somebody who's a mental person. So if somebody's a mental person, they're a fucking menk.
They're a menk. Okay, well, I'll cut that. But that's Menk, our new one. It took him 4 days to get to the point where the other cats were perfectly fine with him. I tell a lie. Alti, the youngest, was fine with him within about 2 hours. He hissed at him a little bit and then was like cuddled up with him. Sky, the eldest, who's 5, was just pissed off as fuck with both of them for about 4 days. So, but still pretty quick. It could have been weeks. So, Anyway,
A good thing to do if the cats do change again. Take a towel and rub it all over the cats because it will get their scent on each other. And so when they sniff each other, they will smell their own scent on that cat, and it can get cats to accept each other very quickly.
Yeah, another good trick that's very similar to that is getting a baby wipe and wiping them to remove the scent from each of them so that they don't smell of themselves. That also has a similar effect. But that's a really good tip. There you go. There's your cat tips from Chaz and I.
Well, the other
You
one
man.
is you grab them and you force them together.
Yeah, you tape them together with tape.
Or you stick them in a ring, and it's like 2 cats enter, 1 cat leaves.
A ring? I think more of a Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stick them in some...
One thing you must never do to a cat is shave its back.
Is that from experience?
On that bombshell.
No, it has got it's got some history.
So, well, I will leave you to it. But see you later, guys.
See you. No, does anybody not know that the thing behind that?
No, I don't know. I'll plead ignorant.
There's a recent.
Well. I didn't expect Alex Botton to run away.
There's a recent arrival in Google Plus. Is a certain inept apologist who started hanging around with the Fundy Fuckwits by the name of Rob Lane, and Alex was conversing with him in G Plus comments, and Rob said, "Why don't you go and shave your wife's back?"
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And it was actually meant. Alex entered a hangout. I think it was last night. I watched a bit of it today. I didn't get a chance to watch it all. And he was talking to this Rob Lane, and they were apparently drunk and generally inept. And he eventually apologised for saying that when shave your wife's back, because he thought it was some sort of funny anti-evolution
It was the monkey.
joke.
Yeah, he said, if you think we're monkeys, why don't you go and shave your wife's back?
But no matter which way you slice it, it didn't make any sense whatsoever. Because we're evolved to not have. Well, women are certainly.
The other thing that's funny as well is that monkeys don't shave each other. I haven't seen many monkeys with razors.
Yeah, it's.
There's not a shaving scene in Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
No, it's not a thing. Yeah, it's just another one to arrive on the endless clown train.
I like how appeal to being drunk. That's a good way out of being.
No, I don't think he claimed to being drunk. I think it was just other people's observations.
Yeah.
He claimed to be a lawyer. Then he claimed to have a bachelor's degree in law, and he was nearly got a degree. It didn't make any sense to me. But he sounded like somebody who was homeschooled and.
Who was that?
Rob Lane.
Oh yeah.
Really odd. He's got the similar sort of accent as Matthew 419, but he's sort of how Matthew 419 would sound at about the age of 12, getting bullied by the clever kids. Well, there you go.
Oh no, but the reason why we're all atheists, in the same sort of hangout where that was said, the reason why we're all atheists is because, we were all bullied and we weren't invited to the popular kids' parties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, they never won.
I went in that hangout, funny enough, the one with Rancam, like Rob and Bruce Shepherd and all that.
But how does he explain that even in Britain, even the popular kids are atheists?
I don't think he knows about other countries. I think he's a bit stuck on the history of his own country, or let alone anybody else's.
Yeah.
I think he just speaks shit all the time, so it doesn't matter.
It's staggering. I mean, Jim Gardner's made an interesting announcement. You know Jim, who used to be on Fundamental Flawed, that is, after his last conversation with a theist, this Trey Jadlow, really odd character. He says he lost interest halfway through and he's just basically going to disengage his sin from all circles and have no else to do it. Because he's just realised the complete and utter futility of arguing about religion. Because, well...
So you actually had a
well, it
discussion with
is.
Trey.
I mean, here's the problem with an atheism versus theism debate. One of you is quite clearly able to produce scientific evidence to back up the assertions you make about reality, and the other one is using fairy stories to back up their assertions about reality.
Well,
And the
let me
only
show
one
you.
that's certain on their opinion is the one that's using fairy stories.
Let me show you something. Hang on.
Well, careful, mate. I don't know what you want to show me in your on the internet, mate, but this isn't
Right.
chat roulette.
Restore my Kindle. That's what I'm reading at the minute. Right? And it was written in the 1970s, and it's fucking brilliant. It's philosophical, but accessible to the layman. I'm a layman with that sort of stuff. And just the refutations of all theological concepts are just so simple. I don't know how any theist could read that and come away thinking, fucking hell, it's bollocks, innit? I don't know how they could not think that, should I say. Yeah, should be. I mean, more so than even. I mean, like, for instance, Hitchens and Dawkins, their books were very much appeals to emotion, with all like your things about evil and that. That don't go into any things like that. It's very much I can't really explain why, but it's
just covering like logical arguments, philosophical arguments for God.
Yeah, just things about why faith is unintelligible. Things like that, the unintelligibility of these theistic notions and such like that, omnibenevolence. It just shows how it just doesn't add up. I mean, you'd get the likes of Matthew Bell reading it and going, no.
What you don't do.
As soon as you started saying that, I was thinking Matt Bell's just going to pop into this hangout. It'll just happen spontaneously.
What, Matt Bell?
Yeah. He'll
come in and be like, what you don't do, you internet atheist, what you don't do.
Yeah. You're not informed. You're kindergarten atheists.
That are really do the trick far more than.
Hello?
That was Nadia.
Oh, she might be double doing hangouts. But that was Pillbox, I swear.
It sounded like Pillbox. Actually, it sounded a bit like Blue as Blue is.
See, everybody always say how much of an arsehole Blue is, and every time I've seen him, he's always just been a sound geezer. He just seems to be the type of person who just puts things a bit bluntly.
Well, there's blunt and there's blunt. I mean, I said, he's made a comment about Alex Botton, and I made a reply, but, Alex is not your enemy. Just get over it. Oh my God! I've got the screenshot saved because he blocked me. And he says, "You're blocked till the end of the year," and that way I couldn't reply. But a friend of mine, not name names, screenshotted the entire G+ thread, and Jesus Christ, basically, my cancer-ridden mother is a whore.
Okay, that's
I've seen him make those comments before, and I had a go at him as well. Just
so anyway,
why somebody needs to go to that level? It's crazy.
So it was just absolute consciousness vomit. Well, the thing is, he's got this thing about Alex porn bombing Rose, Rhiannon Rose pre-trial thingy, and no matter how many times I've been told, like, look, it was just to say that they didn't control things, because it were an abomination. That pre-trial bollocks. Not in the biblical sense, obviously. It was just like fucking hell. So he says, right, I'm going to cut rug under the feet. Played a bit of a hot DP action, and so the hangout were kaput. But Blue has never shut up about it, because he's got an irrational hatred of porn, So I'm not gonna add conjecture as to why. But anyway,
Blue has an irrational hatred of porn.
Yes, absolutely, an irrational hatred of porn.
Which is weird because he doesn't seem to be the kind of person that would have a problem with porn.
An irrational hatred of porn.
Okay, I didn't know there was any man on this planet who really hated porn.
Oh yes. But anyway, so my friend challenged him, and he went, "Oh yeah. I'm sorry this," and so I said, "Well, tell him from me that he's not blocked to the end of the year. He's blocked forever. Job done." Because he's not rational. Just simply not rational. Same as what's the other thing that the other guy, fucking army man.
Oh,
Douglas.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
fucking guy is a
Yeah.
prick.
Well, the thing is, I can take a lot of shit, right? Because
Yeah,
I literally don't give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
I'm virtually impossible to insult. See, I didn't block Doug because he was insulting. I blocked Doug because he's beyond reason. Blue because he's beyond reason. Now, I think with Douglas, there's one thing that I won't tolerate, and that's somebody disagreeing with me for the sake of it.
Mm.
Do you know what makes me laugh about Douglas? It's you can always guess his comment, because it will always involve in accusing you of being ignorant and stupid and suffering from Dunning-Kruger and all of this stuff. And it was funny because I had a comment war with him, and he took something that I said, because I said to somebody in a comment, "You're the type of person I'd stab in the face with a sharp wooden stick until there was enough holes to let out all the oxygen you thief." Yeah?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, that's a threat." And I was like, "No, that's a joke. It's quite obvious." And he goes, "Yes, but you used wood in there. That means intent to do." And I went, "Yes, it can also mean hypothetical." And he shared a definition of wood, and it had two there. The first one saying intent, the second one saying of a hypothetical. And it's like, your own evidence backs up what I've said. You obviously don't understand how the language works. I mean, the guy is just so stupid, but yet I think he thinks he's actually clever. That's the funny thing. And so he thinks he's saying clever things. It's like a child trying to join in with a conversation with adults.
He says like things like, "I'm a troll," and I'm like, yeah, but don't troll people who have been okay, who have been all right with you. You know what I mean? It's like, and somebody who you know agrees with you something on a fundamental point, but then disagrees with you, and you know they don't disagree with you in principle, and nitpicking something, and especially when it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, "Oh God, I've got to get to bed. I can't be fucking responding to this shit. I just fucking block the gun." Yeah, the one thing I've encountered these people in real life. There were a guy who worked at our place, in our workshop. He's since left to go to another department, so now I don't have to deal with shit anymore. And that's all he would do. He would flip flop into a position just to disagree with you.
Yeah, I did. Well, we had a discussion with him a few days ago, didn't we, Wayne, about the gun control type of thing, and it wasn't really about that at all, but it sort of became about it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but when you get onto conversations about gun control, it can go nuts, because a lot of people just think, "You're just trying to take away my guns." No, I'm just trying to say that if guns weren't as readily available as they are in certain places, it would stand to reason that it would be harder for these people who commit school shootings to do so. The people who have shot people in school shootings haven't used illegal firearms. They've used people's legally owned firearms, generally their parents or close family members' firearms, to commit those shootings, because these people have guns in their house.
Yeah. You can go the other way though. I mean, I had an argument with a guy. Well, I mean, I used to do a shooting sport. I used to do outdoor air rifle target shooting, called field target.
Mm.
And but I always fancied doing the rifle stuff, the prop stuff. And so I was a bit disappointed when they banned the handguns because apparently the sport of practical pistol was a damn good sport, and a lot of people when the handguns went in this country, a lot of people moved into a rifle field target. But I heard some good things about it. Maybe unfortunate that fucking Hamilton geezer shot the kid.
Dunblane.
Yeah, I mean, but he shouldn't. But the thing is, that was a failure of the police. He shouldn't have been fucking given a license. There's some massive cover up regarding that as to what influence things behind that. But anyway, this guy at work and he starts on because I were on about. I was talking about this Second Amendment stuff in America, and I were about why they justified the guns and that. And then he starts on about saying, "Oh, well, why do you need a gun?" I says, "I don't need one." What do you need? And this guy was irrational on the other end of things. I was saying, I don't need one. I said, but I would like to take part in shooting sports.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. In America, you don't need to justify having a gun by saying, oh, but home protection, a burglar might break in, and then my gun, which is in my safe, locked away, that while I'm asleep, I would be then, somehow be justified in easily getting to, is perfect protection. And it's just like, look, if you want a gun for shooting and hobby sports and hunting, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Hunting is something that human beings are naturally inclined towards. I mean, even in this country, Wayne, I don't know if you knew this, hunting with a spear or bow is actually illegal.
Oh, yeah.
And fishing with a spear or bow, which I find a silly idea because people have been doing that for thousands of years in this country. But yeah, and it's just like, you can do that, and then it's fine. You don't need any of these daft, nonsensical arguments. Just, I want guns. That's fine. But the problem is, if you build the idea on you need guns for fear, then it kind of breeds that mentality, I think, that leads into people using guns for the wrong things.
Yeah.
I mean, we had not only Dunblane, but the Hungerford massacre as well.
Yeah.
Yet not even allowed with a compound bow or a crossbow, even a normal homemade bow. And I mean, think about, like, the long bow is a famous British weapon. It won us the Battle of Agincourt.
Yeah.
And
Cressy especially.
I mean, technically, we're still supposed to practice the longbow on the village green every Sunday.
That's a bit of a fallacy because a lot of those they cleaned up the statute books a few years ago, and all these archaic laws they actually wiped them off. Finally, they got round to it. But I know what you're saying in principle. Like the thing about
they don't.
Like shooting, is it shooting a Welshman from Chester or something? Is it that
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're allowed to shoot a Welshman in town after a certain time.
This kind of reminds me of something where whenever something happens, they always seem to compare it with Wales when we talk about things in Britain. So, they'll sort of say, oh, did you know an area of Wales is destroyed of the Amazon forest every year? And it's always an area the size of Wales. It's half the size of Texas. I'm sure America is the way they'll refer to it or something.
Yeah.
But, and it's like, why do they always say an area the size of Wales? Why not,
They just want to give us that hope. It's like when they said about Australia that it was when we had those big floods back in the early noughties, and they said like an area the size of Wales in Australia was flooded. I think they were just trying to give us the hope that might happen here one day.
Yeah, it was a good kind of like, an area the size of Wales is destroyed every year. Why is it never Wales?
Right, but what are we talking about?
You were right there, Gretchen.
I think we've
we've broke her.
Yeah, right, sweetheart.
WALES. WHALES. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, not an area the size of Aquit Mamiliates. No. That would. I know England's not a big place. I think we can fit a whale in.
Yeah, it's the old joke. How do you get 2 whales in a Mini down the M4? That's the motorway if you're watching from America or anywhere else.
All these jokes are new to me, so I think they're hilarious.
You know what, Gretchen? I've seen you on G Plus a lot, but I've never been hanging out with you. And,
Hi, Wayne. How are you?
I didn't think your voice would sound like that. It's funny how you get impressions of people. I didn't think your voice would be like that. Oh yeah, we're on about irrational people on the atheist side of the fence. I had a massive, triggered a massive G Plus argument with the guy with the kangaroo. Is it atheism unstoppable? Has anybody seen him? Have you seen his stuff?
Nope.
He has like a kangaroo face that pops up in his videos, and he's really anti-Islam, and he's got a real wasp in his arse about Cenk from Young Turks. I mean, I agreed with Sam Harris when doing the Ben Affleck argument, but the thing is going on like there's no biblical law in the world. There's nobody wanting to institute biblical law. It's all there's nothing like Islam. There's nobody wanting. And I've just made a comment talking bollocks, mate. You've only got to look at the fucking senators and congressmen, and oh my God, the stream of blood-hurt invective that come out, and then you have all these fanboys jumped in and all, and then there's some people who I know sort of came. I won't say rushing to my defence, but they're basically agreeing with my point. And I put loads of stuff about theonomy, reconstructionism, dominionism, and let's put all these links and that, and he's like, no, and all this lot, and it was just so sad. The fact that,
sorry, are you saying that they turned out like the guy from Vicar Dibley? No.
No.
It's actually, I'm actually thinking of somebody else. Is it now? I can't remember. I got it from somewhere. I never watched the Vicar Dibley, but I've got this. No, from somewhere, but I can't think of it is.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Wayne, can I ask you which video that was? Because I do watch that. I do watch those compilations quite a lot, and he's hilarious with the kangaroo. I love those.
Yeah, it was something about Cenk. It was a recent video, but I think it was in 3 parts, and I'd just clicked on part 3, because where Cenk were on about fundamentalism is a problem anyway, not just. And the thing is, even in the comments, I'd actually said, look, I grant you that Islam's the bigger problem. I said, but you've got to be aware that the real hardcore, well, not, I said they're not just fringe, they're actually mainstream politicians that would basically turn America into a third world country.
And it would, wouldn't it? You know,
not intentionally. They would think they were going to make it some sort of capitalist utopia. But the thing is, see, people said to me, like, when I talk about at work, why are you bothered about this? What's in it for you? Why are you so bothered about American politics? And I said, because here in Britain, what affects America affects us. I'm very selfish in that way. It's about my back pocket. So if there was like a real fundy government, like, so let's just say Supreme Court, all God bother us, both houses taken over, and then cherry on the top, you get a fundy president and VP. What do you think had happened to world markets?
I've been messed up.
The panic.
Well, you know, the one that makes me laugh is the sort of like the anarcho-capitalist lot who simply believe by deregulating the market and letting it do itself, everything will sort itself out, and this won't in some way make it easier for people to abuse the system. People like corporations, people like these big rich millionaires who would have the money to abuse the situation, buy up any competition that starts up to challenge them, and just close them down or just take them over.
Well, that worked really well. You know, what was that financial crisis? Oh, wait a minute.
You know, it's just like they're just like, oh no, there'll always be. It's in every single one of them's answer. It's some magic capitalist comes along and starts up a company and solves all the problems, and it's like, yeah, but who's going to pay for the roads? You're going to get pockets of depression. You're going to get places that do really, really well, only because there are places which are literal ghost towns where the housing's very cheap there, but there's no jobs.
It'd be a return to the Wild West frontier days, where you'd got cities in the east and such like that, and then vast wilderness, because people would just gravitate toward the places that had got services.
Yeah, and all of the nobody would. I mean, what company is gonna, unless they really had to build a road, no company's gonna build and maintain private roads. So I don't know where any of that's gonna come from.
Yeah.
It's almost like creating the perfect situation for corporations to take over, rather than having to try and buddy up with the government to try and get, as much they can their own way. Now they'd just be able to do whatever they like. There would be no one to tell them no.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's like this prosperity gospel stuff. I don't know if have you ever read a book called The Family by Jeff Charlotte, Chaz?
No, I haven't.
It details this organisation that you've heard of the National Prayer Breakfast.
It rings a bell.
Yeah, well, every year they have this where they get all these diplomats and that from all these countries, and they have this what they call National Prayer Breakfast. And the president attends and that, but like that's only like a front. There's like all these backroom wheeler dealings and negotiations that happens. This isn't tinfoil hat territory, by the way. This actually happens. But this organisation called the Family. It used to be called, is it the Fellowship? I'm not sure. Was started by a bloke called Abraham Verrider, an immigrant, and to America in the early 20th century, and he sort of had got this weird thing about authority, and he didn't like he really hated unions, and he became the friend of big business because he thought that the Lord worked through rich men, that the place of the common people was to know the place and to look up to the powerful, because they were the ones who God had given the goods to, you know what I mean? So unions were absolutely of the devil, because that were workers doing things for themselves. But throughout the 20th century, this organisation has been involved in what they call secret diplomacy, like going and making deals with despotic regimes like Suharto of Indonesia and things like that, and even in Islamic countries, because Islamic countries, as a general rule, don't see Christianity as the enemy; they see atheism as the enemy. So they were making deals just to keep basically theism alive in these countries. It's a quite a heavyweight book to get through, but it all goes to this prosperity gospel sort of thing, and the fact that people, the religious right, have managed to convince working class Americans to vote against their best interests.
Yeah, I mean, that's happening here. It's like when people are so like working class people are so anti-union, and you kind of just feel like saying to them, if you're really that much against unions, right, you get no holiday pay, you get no sick pay, you get no 3 strikes and you're out dismissal laws, you get no contracted hours. I mean, since the unions are gone, what have we seen? We've been pretty much killed off by Maggie Thatcher. You've got 0-hour contracts come out and part-time contracts in order to try and avoid having to pay all of these things like sick pay and, holiday pay and stuff like that. You've got companies just trying to now taking money off the government to hire people who are not paid by that company. They're still paid by their benefits, and this is somehow going to get people into work by forcing them to do jobs that they should be paid for, but they're not. And do you think companies are just going to go, well, we'll hire you now and pay you? No.
Yep.
Pretty much everyone's going to get sacked, and everyone's all going to be working there for benefit. We're all going to be living off £70 a week dole money, and these companies are going to have a bunch of free labour. Essentially, we're just going to be slaves, the working class.
You've hit upon a real sore point for me now, and this is the thing with the stupidity of the working class, of which I am one of them. I'm a working class man, but I'm one of these who face palms at my own demographic.
I know that feels.
Because right, I'm not a fan of the Muslims, right? But I'm not a fan of the Muslims simply because, like, for the Sharia, basically, if they want to come to me and say this, you will be under Sharia law in a generation, and my answer to that would be, right, fuck off to a Sharia country. Right. Now, also, but the thing is, I'm not especially against immigration, because the thing is, the whole immigration thing has been tainted by the racism card.
Yeah.
And people haven't helped. I mean, the government hasn't helped, but people haven't helped because they are racist people.
Nationalist stuff, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, my objection to immigration also works for the benefit of the immigrants as well. Because what the Labour did by opening the floodgates is they drove working class wages down. Right? They made it so that people can come in and do jobs. See, it might say, well, they still get minimum wage, but there are ways around minimum wage. But it's not just the wage; it's the conditions, right? If a job that a few years ago might have been a respectable working class job, like, I don't know, driving a fork truck around a warehouse, right? So if you were good at driving a fork truck around a warehouse, you never had a crash, you would start to get a bit of respect in the workplace, and you might be on the promotion ladder, right? Now, that sort of job is nothing. You can be replaced the next day by somebody willing to take any shit. But the thing is, it works the other way around as well, because the thing is, these immigrants coming into the job, it's a vicious it's just downward spiral, because each generation of worker is progressively worse off, because one lot's been prepared to work in shit conditions, and so the next lot are forced to work in even shitter conditions. So even the immigrants suffer. See, I don't blame immigrants wanting to come here. I blame the government for allowing a situation to occur where they're just basically filling businesses' back pockets by allowing workplace conditions to downward spiral.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem with not having strong unions and a strong union presence. The other thing is as well is that companies and the government have been letting the rate of minimum wage track massively, the rise of minimum wage every year track massively behind the rate of inflation. So what you've had is people's real-term costs go up by, say, 10%, but they've only got an increase of like 4%. And, you know, they've just constantly over the last 30 years, every household pretty much has been hitting a deficit. So the the kind of like the poverty level has just been sort of like everyone's just been slowly but surely sliding below it, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, thing is, it's a weird one though, because they always say we've never had it so good and that, and they keep saying that all the time. You see, like for instance, like consumer electronics. Now, when I was a kid, consumer goods were fantastically expensive. But on the flip side, mortgages weren't. If you know what I'm saying, houses could be bought relatively cheaply. So they say, oh, yeah, but there's nobody without a television now. There's nobody without a mobile phone now. They like to use that argument. and it's
like
a
a
false
flipping
one.
of what's actually important, right? You know what I mean? It's like the little
Yeah.
things are it's instant appeasement, whereas the things that actually matter, like stability or even fucking owning a house, which for me is completely beyond my means. It's not even a factor in my life.
Absolutely.
It's not even something like, oh well, I'll save this for my deposit, because it's so beyond my means that it's hand to mouth, and it's survival beyond this. Now that could be my fault because of decisions I've made in my life, but I don't think I'm the only one at my age where, compared to my mum's generation, where that wasn't, not that it wasn't an issue, it just wasn't the level of viability for it. It was just sort of, it's a normal thing. Yeah, you'll get married, you'll have a house. Now it's like sort of, what the fuck? Like I know people that, both couples, they make a decent wage, compared to mine, work full time, they're on a mortgage, and it's crippling them.
Well, actually, you hit a point there, Ray, and this is about the couples. Now, once upon a time, the economy was set up around the notion of one person being a breadwinner, one person being at home. Whereas, I blame the people as much as anything else, because now there's that many people working as so you got both people in the couple working. So the government has sort of got used to that figure. So everything gets budgeted around a two-person working household. So the people who are single are fucked.
Yep. Or with one person working. I mean, it's just all of the things they've done, like the way they got rid of all of the social housing under the right to buy, simply just to sell a bunch of housing over to a bunch of middle class and upper class friends of theirs. Like,
Yeah.
you know that James Turner Street, the one that was on that Benefit Street program?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, right, like 90% of the street is on the dole and on benefits. But the funny thing is most of the houses along there are owned by a friend of Margaret Thatcher's.
Right.
You know, who these people are privately renting off. And the funny thing is with housing benefit, it's just, you know, they don't care. I can have housing benefit or working tenants in there. I'm going to get my money, and it keeps pushing the cost of these rents up. And it's criminal. Like, rent is far higher than it needs to be. Insurance is far higher than it needs to be. All of these products are way more expensive than they need to be, and they've all shot up massively since the 90s. And the problem is that people aren't earning enough money to cover all of these things. There's far much more money going into the top level, and it's not being recycled down to be flushed back around the economy.
But yet the haves say to the have-nots, yeah, but you've got a flat-screen television. You're not poor.
Yeah, I've got finances. We have finance agreements to buy this stuff, generally now. We can save up and occasionally buy these things when we're rich. We can buy them second-hand. There's things like Free Cycle and all of that, which are...
I mean, these payday loans and how those places are allowed to operate, I'd never know.
Well, there's something happening, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, I stick up for Wonga in a couple of regards. One, people dishonestly use their interest rate as a thing to beat them with, because when you take out a Wonga loan, you will only be charged 2 months worth of stuff. So if you don't pay on the pay date, you only get charged. So you don't actually pay anywhere near the figure of APR that it says. But because it's calculated from that short period, as if it was the terms of a whole year, that's how much over a year you would pay. That's the way we do things. So it's not a true reflection of how much debt you would actually get in with Wonga. But that's what they make it sound like. But companies like Wonga, there's the obvious thing. Any finance, any loan is a 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Yes, it puts additional money in the economy, but then it takes that out with interest later. So yeah, I've got £1,000 now, but then what I don't have is £100. I have £100 less for the next 10 to 12 months. You know, and so ultimately there's less money in the economy than there is really more. What needs to happen is proper pay. We need a proper livable wage. And have you not noticed there's a photo kicking around Facebook which says, oh, it's a picture, 2 pictures of the Houses of Parliament. One when they were discussing the living wage, basically everybody else's wage, and one when they were discussing their pay rise. Which one of those do you think was full, and which one of those do you think was empty?
Yeah, don't take 2 guesses, does it?
And you know, one of the problems, we don't have a viable left anymore in this country, or indeed any places like America. Like the Green Party have been shut out of the leaders' debates, even though they've had a seated MP since 2010.
I do have problems with the left, though, Chaz. I do have problems with the left, in that the thing is that people see the left in many ways as the party of ban everything, the party of removing liberties.
Well, you see, it depends. If you're a libertarian, it's authoritarianism. It's not the left or right that's the problem. That's the social scale, the authoritarian versus libertarian. A lot of the Greens are generally what Labour was like many, many years ago. It's not the idea of ban things. And in fact, if the Green Party's policies on a recent survey, actually, without knowing whose they were, you just voted on what you thought was the best policy. Out of the top 6, which was Green, UKIP, BNP, and then the 3 establishments, Greens were the most popular with the public.
I think Jim Garner ran that by me, and it turned out, yeah, that I actually aligned with Greens, but I said, but yeah, they'll take me.
And this is the problem, that you've got 4 right-wing authoritarian parties: UKIP, Lib Dems, Labour, Conservative, all in the leaders' debates, 4 pro-austerity, right-wing authoritarian parties, and nobody who is against austerity. It's just a bunch of chuckle brothers all agree. I mean, Nick Clegg went to school with what's his face, Mayor of London, Johnson. You know, Eton twat, obviously, and Nigel Farage. Come on, former Tory. You can take the man out of the party, but you can't take the party out the man.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned UKIP, because sorry, go on, Cliff.
I was going to say something about that myself. UKIP really worried me because I don't know if anybody caught it recently, but it was kind of revealed by Nigel Farage or one of his friends or something that they would like to institute a kind of an American-style free market health system.
Well, can I just take this? Can I just take this, Cliff? Because this is what I want to go on this in a big way. I was on about the stupidity of the British working class. So they go on and on about immigrants saying they're taking our jobs on this lot, which it can be argued many ways. But then they throw up this thing: UKIP will save us. UKIP's the best thing for us, and I just facepalm royally.
Well, Nigel Farage is just a Thatcherite Tory tosser, as I said.
Yeah, well, this is where I'm going to. I actually convinced some people the other day. I was talking to a group of blokes, and I says, "You do realise that you vote UKIP, you get more Tory than Tory."
Yeah.
And I says, they're not going to get rid of immigrants, because immigrants are keeping the wages down. I said,
they want to institute the 30% tax. That's the funny thing is, oh yeah, Nigel Farage and UKIP's for the working man. Then why do they always talk about instituting a flat rate of tax, which would actually give a tax cut to the rich and a tax increase to the poor? Who does that remind me of? Who recently has given a tax cut to the rich in the last sort of 4.5 years, and increased the taxes for the poor? Oh, no, I can't think who that might be. Oh, wait, no, I can do. That was the fucking Tory party. Again, another bunch of Thatcherite bastards.
So I actually did manage to convince a group of blokes who were going, oh, UKIP this, UKIP that. I actually managed to make them say, to go, you know what, you're right. Yeah, fuck UKIP.
I like that. radio guy that had Nigel Farage on there and just beat him around the head with his own stupidity so much that a guy who's now the UKIP media coordinator, who's also a was I think a former editor or a former journalist at the Express, you know, were cut the interview short because of just how browbeaten
Right.
Farage was getting by this
didn't see
guy
it.
and how stupid Farage. Oh, it's brilliant. Just look it up. And then this funny thing is, he had a caller call in on one of his shows, and he was talking about UKIP. And this guy was like, "Yeah, UKIP. They stand up for the working class. They stand up for the average guy." And they go, "Yeah, but what is it they actually stand for? What are their policies? Because at the moment they have none. All they've done is Nigel Farage said that his 2010 manifesto means nothing, and has yet to actually say what his party's standing for. And all he's getting is a bunch of attention from the media, and you know why? It's because what they're trying to do is force a UKIP conservative coalition.
Yeah. Yeah, they're basically just the Tea Party.
Why do you think that, do you really think Reckless defected, or do you think they're trying to make it seem like that because they know seats like Rochester would go to UKIP, so they're putting their Tories in the UKIP to get a good Tory UKIP?
That's a good point.
Coalition. It's quite easy to see that basically what you've got is a small group of people colluding together. It doesn't matter whether you vote Labour or Conservative, you're getting the same. They're both right-wing, they're both authoritarians. Look at the political compass, the political spectrum test, and all of those people, David Cameron, they're all in that top right-hand quadrant. They're all in the same sort of like area as each other.
Well, the thing is that what you said about the UKIP aligning with the Tories, it actually does make it actually does make a bit of sense, because when you see because the Liberal Democrats, who are basically, they'll just whore to anybody, they've basically said that they'll have a coalition with Labour next time, because they know that the Tories will just fuck them off.
Well, that's what I thought they would have done last time, because it was up to Lib Dems to pick basically Labour or Conservative, and I thought, well, usually in the past they've been closer to sort of like Labour. No, completely surprised me, and that was before I knew that Nick Clegg was an old school chum of Boris Johnson, and then that sort of made sense. It seems like this small group of like-minded people are now all the politicians.
Well, the scariest thing I find in British politics is the influence exerted by one course at Oxford. The PP, Politics, Philosophy and Economics at Oxford. Just, I mean, like, that is not a wide spectrum of experience and skills. That is a clique.
I mean, do you know what's funny? I mean, we had an economist be the treasurer, and he fucked things up.
Yeah.
Now we've got a guy who isn't a communist, and he's still fucking things up.
Yes.
Because the only thing he's noticed is that when he turned the spending taps on, the economy started to recover. And what did he do straight away? Turn the spending taps back off.
Yeah.
Isn't it the health secretary or something like that who believes in
homeopathy? He wants homeopathy on the NHS.
Yeah.
So essentially, the Conservatives are looking to cure you of stupidity or dehydration. But the funny thing is I don't know why he's insisting he wants something on the NHS, because, you know, they promised no NHS cuts or reforms, and what they've done is the biggest cut and the biggest top-down reform, and they've partially privatised the front end of the NHS. They've essentially done everything they said they wouldn't. Like, if anybody actually believed the Conservatives when they say something, then you are a criminal moron. The only trustworthy party who would actually do anything for anybody is the Greens. They actually have some sensible policies, like building schools, like not privatising the NHS, like having a referendum on EU. The Green Party promised a referendum on EU, and they will do it. But you don't hear about them. The only parties you hear about promising referendums on EU are Nigel Farage, and if he was to do that, most of the UKIP seats that they actually have would go, because they're EU things. And he sort of sits there and goes, oh, you know, all these decisions are made in Brussels, and you're like, you're an MEP, you get to vote on those decisions, but you only turn up to the European Parliament as much as you have to collect your paycheck. You have done the least amount of voting in the European Parliament and the most fucking whinging. You disingenuous, democratic denying fucking cunt. I've met Nigel Farage in real life.
Really?
Yeah, I was assaulted by one of his bodyguards beginning of this year when he was in Margate and he got hit on the head by that sign. And you know, right? This is the thing. His thing to say about that, with these people who are protesting about animal rights and other things, and there were some people there who are protesting about the anti-gay comments that were made by that guy, you know, where he said gays bring rain, blamed all of the rain we were having on the gays. He turned around and called those people who are protesting undemocratic. These people expressing themselves, that's undemocratic. No, mate, I think you'll find freedom of speech is democratic. You just don't want people who you disagree with to speak. That's because you're an authoritarian little fascist fuckwit.
Yeah, it's...
That's what you really think.
Yeah, well, if Nigel Farage gets into Parliament, I'm going to fucking assassinate him.
Yeah, that might come to hit you in the arse if he ever gets shot or something crazy.
Oh no, I'll do it nice up close and personal. I'll run into him like that guy did with David Cameron recently. Only I'll be holding a fucking sword when I do it.
Wasn't one of their policies that they wanted to relax gun laws or reinstate gun laws in the UK?
Yeah, they wanted to. Nigel Farage wants guns to be legal in the UK. See, Nigel Farage just wants to turn us into America, like their economy is doing so well.
But the thing is, though, Chaz, I would say I don't have any illusions that they would be commonly available. It's purely more guns for the rich.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny, right? If anybody understands the British public, guns were never that popular here to begin with. It's why, you know, most people we haven't had the history with guns that America's had.
I tell you what it would be. This would be because in Britain, even for you know this of course, even for licensed gun holders, the guns can't be used for self-defense. But I will bet a gold pig that if that's what Farage is wanting, that it only applies to mansions, the protection of mansions, and that. So if an oik is breaking into a mansion, you can shoot them. But if somebody's breaking into my little place, I can't.
It's kind of almost like our political. It's kind of like our political class want to return to a time.
Sorry, what was that, Cliff? Sorry, Chaz.
I was trying to put I was trying to do a posh English version of "Get Off of My Land." So get off of my land.
Well, it's sort of like the Ben Elton and Stephen Fry and that on the Bambi episode of the Young Ones when they're on the challenge and they're going rah rah rah, we're going to smash the oiks. it's insane. I mean, any gun like, let's just say you had people like Colt and Browning and stuff like that came over here, opened up factories the second guns were legalized. They would never generate enough sales to truly sustain their company on any serious level. So what they would be getting is a bunch of tax money. And I bet if you look at Tory party donors and UKIP donors especially, I bet you would find links to funding through those people. You know, this is what you've got. You've got companies paying politicians the money they need to get in. America recently had a thing, and every president that has won the election has been the party that's won has been the one that spent the most money on campaigning. Yeah.
And they spend billions. Like they spent 40 billion on advertising the Republican Party. £40 billion of money on tax on these adverts to get themselves elected, yeah? Just for some woman to stand there shooting a gun and go, I'm not Obama, and you know, they could have spent that 40 billion on something constructive like a decent healthcare system, you know, or one of the other many millions of things America could do with, like some good schools, some actual more schools.
The health system is absolutely staggering. I can't get my head around it. The fact that people will just I mean, they've got. I mean, apparently, with the churches, the tax-free situation, they're not allowed to preach politics. Apparently, but you can't tell me that those pastors aren't saying vote Republican because of Obamacare. Obamacare's evil. They've got it's bound to be happening, and I just can't believe that a demographic would vote to keep themselves poorer. It's absolutely
I can't believe there were people saying, "Oh, net neutrality is the Obamacare of the internet." A, you don't know how the internet works. B, you don't know what the net neutrality situation is. If you think net neutrality is a bad thing, you know, it's just like, no, companies should have the right to choke services and, you know, breed a whole new form of crony capitalism where companies are in league with each other. Netflix should have to pay Virgin if you want to watch Netflix.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Mm.
Well, that meltdown by Alex Jones about net neutrality, God, I've seen some stupidity in my time, but
the net neutrality thing is stupid though, because you know when you think about it, effectively the telephone companies have got us over a barrel. It's kind of like, and what they're effectively saying is, it's not, you know, if I've got a website and you want to look at my website, I've got to pay a company to host my website or to have data coming to me. You've got to pay to access the internet to be able to receive my data and look at my website. So what they're saying is, it's not enough that they're being paid twice. It's only fair that they should be paid 3 times for the same thing by throttling it and so on.
Oh, and not only that, it's then to force you on to have this different sort of tiered system rather than to just have, you know, this is the speed you get, like 20 megabytes, or you can get, you know, this slightly better, like fiber to the cabinet, or you can get full fiber to the home, and you'll get this speed, and they cost this, this, and this, and you can pay a little bit extra to have unlimited data roaming, yeah? Which is what we do in Britain, which I think is an okay system. What they want is a situation where it's like, well, if you do happen to watch Netflix or Hulu, then you need to go with us on this one, and then pay an extra £60 a month if you want the speed that Netflix should work at. You know.
Have you ever listened? Have you ever read the opening sentence or 2 sentences of OPEC in Wikipedia?
No.
It says OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, is an international organization and economic cartel whose mission is to coordinate the policies of oil-producing countries. The goal is to secure a steady income to the member states and collude and influence world oil prices through economic means. Now imagine you change that to the phone companies, and imagine how shitty that is for the average person.
I mean, it's just criminally insane, some of the stuff that these companies want to do. It's almost like, I mean, Mr. Burns, yeah, kind of seems like a bit of a far-fetched thing. No, Mr. Burns is completely sane compared to some of them.
Which
and
one?
The shit they get up
or
to.
The guy who's got a friend called Smithers who works for him?
That one, Monty Burns. You know, yes, excellent.
I must admit that the Simpsons reference is a lost on me because I don't watch it.
The trans partnerships things that they want to do, like the was it the TTPI or whatever it is, the Trans-Pacific Partnership thing.
I don't know.
It's like it's going to be a kind of like an agreement between the EU, the UK, and America, on basically, you know, like how we have a trade agreement with the EU. It's going to be setting up something like that to include America in it, pretty much. It's going to be a free trade agreement where it's going to be, you know, so free that things are guaranteed in there, and the only people that are going to benefit are the rich. And as part of it, England has to start fracking. Funny that. I wonder who would benefit if England started fracking. If only there was some sort of fossil fuel sort of conglomerates that would possibly in any way make money, or energy companies, or any shit like this that, you know. And you know what I find funny? The whole point of the Tories, right? The public money will build this, yeah? And then we will sell it to our rich friends for them to make a profit from it. You know, us as a government, we couldn't make a profit from running the train service, but our friend can, who will give tax breaks to, and ways to dodge tax. I love the way it's like the David Cameron was saying about Jimmy Carter, oh, he's so bad for dodging tax. And it's just like, mate, name one of your friends that isn't.
Why?
Yeah, it's not just that. I mean, we private, or the Conservatives privatised the railway, you know what I mean, sold it off to these private companies with the idea that they would, you know, put it on the stock market and get investment money that would pay for the infrastructure updates that it needed, because the government couldn't afford it. Taxpayers' money couldn't pay for it. But even though that they've sold it off and private industry owns it, the government still takes your taxpayers' money and gives them millions and millions of pounds a year, you know what I mean, to help them pay for infrastructure updates. You know,
yeah,
what I mean?
we paid to fix the lines. We paid
and they
millions of pounds for the fast trains.
Yeah, and pay it in what do you call it, stocks and shares, fucking every year to the stockholders, you know, who are supposed to be the people who pay for it. You know?
Yeah. Oh, and the other one was the telephone lines. We gave millions and millions of pounds to British Telecom, which is a private company now, to put the fibre optic to the cabinet, the BT Infinity, all around Europe. And people, all these anarcho-capitalists, are like, yeah, but if we let if we just had a free market, then these people would all do it. Really? Because I haven't seen it happening yet in England with everything that we've fucking privatised. All I've seen is that the taxpayers had to come along and do everything for them, because, funnily enough, companies like making lots of profit. They don't like giving out money, and this whole idea, but yeah, if we increase the minimum wage, then they'll sack everybody and replace them with machines. You don't think they're going to do that anyway? Do you really think they just keep somebody there paying them because they're not costing them that much, when they could, like, save themselves that extra bit of money that goes to their back pocket by sacking everybody and replacing them with fucking computers? Do us a favour, you daft cunt.
The railways are a different one, because, I mean, the whole reason why the railways were privatised was because it actually goes back to 1955. In 1955, they had something called the modernisation plan: get rid of the steam engines, replace them with diesels and electrics. In a 10-year period, or just over 10 years really, but, you know, roughly a 10-year period, they replaced 95% of all the country's trains. So by the early 90s, only about 25% of new trains had been built during the 80s and into the early 90s. So as a result, you've got a Conservative government that just managed to squeeze in. They didn't expect to win the 1992 general election.
Well, they didn't want to win it.
General election, sorry.
John Major was supposed to lose.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so as a
and
result,
just like what Labour did, the whole point of Tony Blair leaving was that Gordon was supposed to call an early election, lose, then the Conservatives would have been in when the economy went tits up, just like the Conservatives tried to do with them. Both times it's backfired on them.
Well, I just want to get back to the railways thing. So they built, you know, so as a result, the decisions that had been put off and put off and put off and put off had to be made. They had, you know, the new government had to decide what they were going to do to, you know, buy new trains. They were so outdated, you know, that they would just fall into pieces. Availability was through the floor. It was just terrible. So what happened was they thought, okay, well, if we privatise it, we're not the ones that have got to find the money to replace 75% of all the country's trains. Private companies can do that. So as a result, they split it off in such a way that it's a mess. When you get on a train today, you're paying 3 or 4 companies, depending on whether it's a profit-making one or a loss-making one. And of course, the idea is the one that make a lot of profit, the money goes towards paying the ones that don't make as much. So, like, for example, my local one, which is Northern Rail, Wales doesn't make as much, things like that. So what happened was that so you pay 3 companies. You pay the train operating company, who really only own any uniforms and staff, and the franchise, because they have a franchise. They don't own anything. It's a franchise. They bid to see who gets that franchise, and whoever offers the most amount of money gets the franchise. Then you've got the then you've got Network Rail. They get about 54% of your ticket price. That's for renewing, the mess that's been left over because of a 40-year lack of investment by multiple governments. We're not just talking Labour or Conservative. We're talking about multiple governments before. And then finally, the main 3, you've got the train leasing company, because nobody owns any trains. They lease them for a year. And then if it's a profit-making one, the Department of Transport get paid as well. And so what happens is, for a franchise, for example, the West Coast Main Line, what happened was they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to introduce 9 new trains, 12 new services a day, meaning X amount of people traveling, and the every year, and we'll do 6 stations or something. And so every year they'll pay more and more and more and more and more and more. Well, the West Coast Main Line franchise went tits up because Virgin, who are doing it now, they put in a bid and first put in a rival bid, which was cheaper, also, which gave more dividend back to the Department for Transport. But Virgin looked at it and said, well, we were going to do it on making almost next to no money back, a fairly low amount. How can they make these numbers work? It doesn't make sense. And what they figured out was that, it was going to be something like a 14-year contract. And they figured out that probably about 5 or 6 years in, they'd make loads and loads of money because they've got loads of people travelling, and the dividends they're paying a low amount is going to get more and more every year. So by the time they get here, this is the point where it stops becoming profitable. So here they make loads of profit, and then they let the franchise, they say, sorry, we can't afford to pay, the government take it off them, and they make shitloads of money.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
it's criminal the way these companies go. And I mean, I'd actually sort of add a thing to that, is look what they've actually done, this whole idea of privatisation. They sold the Royal Mail just after it had made its first profit in a few years for $1 billion less than it was actually worth, to a good friend of George Osborne, just coincidentally. The guy who's in charge of the Treasury, his friend who, goes to a lot of his barbecues and garden parties, just happened to buy it for $1 billion less than it's worth. That was just a mistake. There wasn't any deliberateness there. There isn't any idea of this whole thing that Thatcher started to do, which was we sell off a load of businesses and stuff that we have, infrastructure that we have. We sell this off. We have a load of money go into the Treasury at one stage, so we get this artificial boost to the economy that makes it look like we've actually fixed something. All we've done is we've put the onus on the future. So we come 30 years later, and we've got nothing to sell off now, and we're in the shite.
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things is when our government talks about the deficit is only the paying off a bit of the credit card bill. And we're not talking about paying the credit card bill, we're talking about the interest.
Yep.
So really, the equivalent I've seen is, imagine a bath, and you turn the tap on, that's the amount of interest we've got to pay. So it's trying to basically scoop out enough water to stop the tap from producing more debt. That's all the deficit is.
Yeah. And you know what was funny? Like, he was trying to stand by his things, and this Labour guy utterly cut into him because he's like, out of the top 6 countries in the EU, who has the best GDP to deficit ratio? And it was the British. And they go, in 2 years' time, based on projections, where will we be? And he had to admit that we were going to move from the top to the bottom under his economic plan. And he's still doing his job, by the way. If I turn around to you and said that your company would go from being the most prosperous to the least prosperous out of the top 6, yeah, based on my plan for your business, would you still keep me employed? No, you would give me my P45 and tell me to fuck off. In fact, you know what we need to do? Britain and America need to go and take their politicians out into the street and start resizing some of their necks the same way the French did.
Anyway, I might take this moment to say to my good friend Andy. Andy, have you got what you want to bring to us?
Yeah, sorry, I've been monopolising.
No, it's all right, Chaz. Where's Andy? Oh, hi, Annabelle.
Oh yeah.
Hello there.
Is Andy frozen?
Is Andy just frozen?
I think
I think so. That or he's not moving. Yeah, no, he's frozen. When you try and box him, you just get a black screen.
Yeah, that's not gone well.
He's either frozen or he's very, very calm.
Trying to...
Oh, there you are.
It lived!
He lives.
A bit scary.
I think so. The brief spike then, and then he went again.
Oh.
Do you think maybe he's actually like gone close to a black hole and it's actually a time dilation?
I think I'm back on the right planet now.
It's the peanut butter.
Maybe
I need to shut the things down.
the provider's been throttling him, I think. They've not paid his money, you know what I mean?
No, go ahead, Andy.
I'm just trying to close iMovie down at the moment. That's the reason why it's so slow. It keeps freezing.
That'll do it.
People can't handle it. So what's our hangout tonight then? This you know the Rand Campbell and Alex.
I didn't see it all, Andy, because I was doing some work in the garage. You know, I listened to it on my phone, and the signal kept dropping.
Right.
I was operating a drill, and so that kept I couldn't hear the hangout for the drill. So
You worked on your bike, was you, Wayne?
yeah, I dropped it the other night, and so I snapped the clutch lever off. So we're having to fabricate, stroke, bodge, and what was left of the clutch lever, and extend it.
Oh, shit. That's a bit of a job, isn't it?
Not really. Just a couple of steel plates and in a way.
Yeah. I was expecting like loads of fireworks tonight with Rand Campbell. You know, they're sort of really bigging it up, wouldn't he? You know?
Yeah, well, it would have just got his volume muted straight down if it kicked off.
Yeah. I caught most of it. Had to pop out to work about 3/4 of the way through, but luckily enough, I have my phone with me, so I was able to listen to it whilst I was driving.
Well, it highlighted to me what an utter fraud he is, because if he can speak at that volume level, just talk, even though he's still coming out with retarded shit, if he can speak actually like that, then just all this ranting is just utter shit.
Well, it's a character, isn't it? It
is a character.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to have to shoot off because I've been called away to other places. It's been nice seeing all of you guys. Most of you I've already met before. Annabelle, obviously, I haven't, but I'm sure you're cool. Anyway, peace out, everyone.
Yeah. Catch you soon.
Later, Chaz.
Bye.
Well, now Chaz has gone, we'll be able to get a word in edgeways.
I just started whistling the red flag partway through that.
I'm here now. You won't get a word in edgeways. I'm the only woman, so I'm entitled to speak first and for a long time about nothing in particular that's of any interest.
Jolly good.
Well, there is her love for DPR Jones, of course.
Oh, private matter. Thanks very much. Oh, wait, I'm going to kill you for that one. Let me see.
No, Cliff, Get DPR in here. He answers your invite. Get him in here.
I'll
Do it.
see what happens, yeah.
Call him over, Mr. Jones.
Sort it out.
So I just on a completely different subject, although I would like to discuss. But Andy, I've noticed that Jason is back under the Lollard Preacher's name. Have you noticed that?
No, not noticed that. He's back, is he?
Yeah, he's been commenting on. He put a big rant up on a video yesterday, I think. One of Rand's, I think, about homosexuality. I think it was.
Surely not.
That's kind of typical of him, really, isn't it? That's typical of Jason.
He's back.
Says one thing and does another.
He
This
is
is my
back,
surprise
but
face.
he's
never gone to me.
He's clearly not making videos at the moment. But I'll give it. I said that he'd be back last Sunday, so I've lost the bet.
Well,
But,
I've actually got a bit of a theory about Jason's hiatus.
Oh, be careful, Wayne. It's just a theory.
Yeah, a layman's theory, of course. A layman's hypothesis. A layman's conjecture. And that is, these hiatuses he has every so often are necessary so he can actually build up a stock of videos to upload. And so what he's actually doing is not making and uploading videos every day. He just bangs them from private to public a few a day. So I reckon this time off is just making his videos. I'm not kidding, of course. Like that's.
Wayne, I think what it actually is that the hamster on its wheel inside his head gets tired.
You mean that moth? That solitary moth?
Are you sure that it's not that he only uploads videos when he's got his home release? You know what I mean?
He's what, sorry?
Home release.
Oh, God Almighty! We need Jabu back. It's just not the same without Jabu.
Not a lot of preachers, mate.
I mean,
Oh, Jason.
I mean, I can't watch G-Man, but I can watch Jason. Obviously, not when he's doing his scholarship, but when he
I mean, he does. Nobody watches his scholarship videos. Nobody. He gets about 5, on average, 5 views for them. And every time he makes a, let's call it a comedy video, he gets about 100, 150. So he knows that that's what gets attention.
The problem is, though, is when he buries a rant in the middle of a scholarship video.
Yeah. Oh, I don't see. You see, I don't watch his scholarship videos, so I don't see him do that.
People have panned through them, like just doing the slider across and that, in the hope of finding one, and they have found gems that way. Like, so he's going, yeah, and Martin Lloyd-Jones, the great pastor, and the Lord, and he says, and it's like, and the Great Awakening and that, but Jim Gardner tried to get me sectioned. Anyway, back to Martin Lloyd-Jones.
I'd rather just get drunk and play computer games, you know what I mean, than go through Campbell or any of these apologetics or crazy religious people. I've not enough time in my life to watch these people, you know.
I don't want to speak, don't want to be rude, but I've got a question for you. I bet you do a mean Matthew Bell impression.
I don't know who Matthew Bell is.
You're blessed. You're blessed. You're blessed. Curse, you're blessed.
Are you in for a treat?
Embarrassment.
I found Jason Byrne's post.
Jim Gardner does not know what the Leibnizian argument is.
Yeah, but basically, Matthew Bell is a particularly belligerent Scottish Christian apologist.
Oh no, I do.
Wayne, I disagree with you. I don't think he's belligerent at all.
I had a big argument on a hangout with him one night because he was such a wanker, you know, and I get drunk when I'm doing hangouts, you know, and I just totally went off at him, calling them all the cunts and pricks, you know, and he eventually just left the hangout, which I suppose was good for other people in the hangout, you know.
That would be. I would like to see that. I would like to see this Scottish gentleman here and Bell going at it hammer and tongs. That would be.
I don't think Matt's belligerent at all. I think he's actually quite smart. I just think he's very mentally disturbed.
No, he's the dictionary definition of belligerence.
He is belligerent.
I suppose, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, all right, because he doesn't listen and he just talks over everyone.
I'm sorry, Annabelle, I'm going to be belligerent about him being belligerent here.
Yes.
All right,
fair enough.
Being just a troll that come in and he's contrary. If you take position, opposite position, just to argue, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I've been corrected, definitely. That doesn't happen very often, but I'm mitigating. Okay, but he is intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
He is intelligent. You know, he's not like G-Man or Burns. He's reasonably, you know, smart. And I just.
You'd be fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's intelligent. It's just he's wrong about everything.
But to be honest,
I suppose that's where the belligerence comes in.
Even if I think he's wrong about something, at least he can chuck an argument together and, you know, like I say, if he loses the attitude, he'd be an interesting person to talk to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what it is you get people in Britain who get like a moderately good education. So even if they're wrong about everything, they've been educated well enough to put a reasonable sort of argument together. You don't
That's
get.
okay, but Jason Burns does tend to refute that argument.
You haven't actually seen his theology degree. He has never ever shown it once.
Well, it's spiritual.
He tells us he's got one, but he never shows it. He never puts it up on screen. He just points to it and says, "I have a degree in theology." But I mean, people say that they know he has, but I've never seen any evidence of it ever.
No,
it's known as a lesser degree.
Pastoral studies, and the way you can tell is there was one day when he held it up, but it was out of focus. But you could see that the big bit in the middle where it says what you've got was 2 words, not 1, which would be theology.
See, the thing is, he probably got it from the same place that all these other people get it from on the internet. It's like a small caravan in the middle of Texas or something. You know what I mean?
Moonpig.com.
Well, the thing that's very telling for me, and it's one thing I've noticed reading George Smith's book, the Atheism Curse Against, the Case Against God, and that's where him actually when he's talking about theology and theologians. And the thing is, theology. If your course was theology, it would be about all religions. Now, Jason isn't going to study that. So for Jason, the course would be Christian theology. But he never says that. He doesn't say, I've got a degree in Christian theology. And he knows fuck all about other religions.
Yeah.
So that's, for me, that's why he hasn't got a degree in theology.
I just laughed at something. He left 2 comments under Ram's Hangout of the Year announcement. And I'm going to read them out because it's the ending line. It's just classy. On the first one, it says, "What makes me laugh with these bullying atheists like Alex Botton, that's Botton with 2 O's, not EN. When challenged, challenged can't take it. They love to stick the boot in and kick the crap out of Christian apologists on YouTube, ganging up 8 to 10 atheists against 1 Christian apologist. 8 to 10. There's only 9. You can only have 10 people in a hangout. That would be interesting. Mix it with slander and a bit of cyberbullying. But when some person turns around and says, "Okay, come and talk with me one-on-one," they run like chickens they are, and Alex and his mates are cowards. It's hard to read because he's really bad at punctuation.
Yeah.
All he and his mates can do is run around being abusive. The fact that the atheist community on YouTube never call him out shows how sick the community is. People like Andy Jack and Fiona Robertson pile on the slander and abuse to Christian apologists, editing videos and throwing out sticks, smear campaigns against Christian apologists all the time. They claim to be victims and Christians. You could not make this up if you tried. So now Ran is giving Alex a bit of his own medicine, and the Brummie is on the run. I've left YouTube, not making videos anymore, down to these abusive people like Alex and Fiona. I will never make a video again. Here comes the classy bit. I love the ending. I'll never make a video again until they're exposed for the sick abuse they have done. Ran has exposed these nutters and cowards that they are. Yours in peace and love, J-Bo.
Yeah, that was the end bit cracked me up the most. All that abuse and all that vitriolic nonsense he was spewing out, and then at the end, peace and love to all. You just want to slap the little fat bastard.
Anyway, so the second one.
I'll tell you what, Cliff. I know that it's been a bit controversial, your video in Manchester, but I really am tempted to go with a camera on my head as well, and just go up to him and punch him. Oh no, not punch him. I think I might like to slap him really hard, so that I leave a nice red welt on his face.
You'd actually have to locked up, Annabelle.
Yeah.
Huh?
What gets me is he's talking about one-on-one conversations or whatever, but I can't remember which fundy it was that challenged someone to a one-on-one with him and Ronnie and G-Man and all the others. Not good at maths. I can't remember which one of them it was. They all merged into one.
It was G-Man. G-Man was saying, "I want a one-on-one." You and me, and you know. It
was Ronnie, wasn't it?
And Ronnie, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it.
Well, the sequential spends about information.
Anyway, so.
Let me ask you a question.
Anyway, so the second post that he made was what's going to happen is the Brummie Atheist Mafia, run by Alex Botton.
Brummie Atheist Mafia?
Yeah.
Most of us don't even anywhere near Alex.
I'm in Starbridge. Do I count?
Yep.
I'm on West Sussex, so I don't count.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll start to think of how to bring Ran down. Wayne Hudson doesn't have a Y in it. It's Wayne, W-A-N-E. Hudson, Alex, Fiona, Cliff Jumper, and others will have hangouts talking and plotting how to bring Ran down. They'll start a smear campaign, push around some slander, try to get him on his own, so it'll be 8 atheists against 1, then abuse him full style. Then if that doesn't work, they'll get heavy and try to find out his private life and drop a few hints so that they have stuff on him. By the time they finish, Ran will... they would have beat him up emotionally. Good style on YouTube. If he gets through this, by the way, that's THREW. If he gets through this, they will start to play the victim card and say Ran is bullying them. If he gets through this again, quote, a few Christian apologists by this time will give up and leave YouTube. They'll refuse to talk to you and tell the rest of the atheists to do the same, and you're the most vile human on earth. If by chance you get past this, they'll take things outside of YouTube. They might phone you or visit you or contact you with. Cliff Jumper did this with me and even tried to punch me. That's a lie. An atheist who is close mates with these atheists and theistic evolutionists. These are the kind of scum Ran is up against. I told him to make sure if he takes on these people, they would get on what he would get. So, any Christian apologist who goes near Alex Botton and his mates needs to know that they are best staying as far away from him as they can and his psychopath mates. If Ran can expose them nutters, these nutters, then he would have done a good day's work. But he knows better. He knows who and what he's up against. These people don't play fair. Love and peace from J-Bo. Now I've said all this, Alex and his Brummie Atheist Mafia will try to be all nice, but in the nice smiles are fangs.
Very scholarly.
Yeah.
Well, he probably didn't plagiarise it from somebody, so it wasn't very scholarly at all.
Oh. So what does Weema 100 have to say about this?
I don't know. I wonder if that...
You know what that is, don't you?
Yeah.
That was the... Hang on. That was the lead-in for the original Atheist and the Wrath of God.
Mm.
That's any good. The Lord... dare you? Sam Harris, you'll not win God.
You'll not win God. Gosh, that was one of the best.
You're doing 18. Oh dear. Oh, so right. So is Ran gonna change? Do you think?
No, of course not. He's got his whole persona is based on him getting attention because this is the only place he can get attention.
Well, if anybody's got, excuse me, tired. If anybody's got any gumption about him, anybody at all, as soon as he starts raising his voice in hangouts, they'll just say, "Why are you shouting? You spoke calmly to Alex Botton. Why are you shouting?" That's all they got to say to him.
Yeah, you'd be saying that to me in almost every hangout that I get drunk in.
I'll let you off. So who do you mainly shout at then, Tess?
Idiots. You know, people who, you know, basically say shit that isn't true. True, you know. Yeah, Christians. I was at a hangout the other night where it was 4 to 5, and it was all them against me, you know. I was the only atheist in the room, but I quite enjoyed it, you know what I mean. And as I got more drunk, I shouted more until a few left. You know, that's what normally happens. They can't take it, you know, because they talk over you, but I shout over them, you know.
Well, I wouldn't do that. You see, I'd just put a big shit-eating grin on and laugh at them, because they hate it.
Yeah.
They hate the thought that the people are just laughing at them.
Yeah. And the other thing that I do, because they're not their arguments are too difficult, but their sentence structure and grammar and use of language is so retarded that they don't make sense, but they think they're being incredibly clever. You just say, okay, I grant you that, now what? And then they lose their shit because they haven't actually considered what that actually means.
Yeah. But it's hard to know if that's because they're stupid or because they were educated in America.
Pass.
Fine Burns.
It's interesting, isn't it, that America. I was just listening to another hangout actually about fundamentalism in America, and I've lived out there for several years when I was in my teens and in my late 20s, early 30s. I lived in Mississippi in the Deep South, and it wasn't fundamentalist. People were very religious, but it wasn't like it is now. Well, I certainly don't remember it as it is now.
When was it, Annabelle? When was it?
I first went when I was 19, so that would have been, I don't know, 1985 or something.
Behave, Wayne, behave.
Yeah, 2000. No, 1986, 87. No, yeah, 85. 1985. So, and I lived out in Mississippi for some time. I have got very strict fundamentalist Southern Baptist family who still live in exactly the same place, and they have ramped up their opinions and attitudes. I don't know, this is live, I've got to be careful. I have a member of my family who is gay, and he's a member of that part of the family, and they have shut him down completely. He's you know, it's pretty awful. I haven't been to see them for several years because I can't be around them with the constant discussion of God and hell, and just I can't do it. So I haven't seen them, and I'm feeling very guilty that I haven't stuck up for my nephew. But at the same time, he's going along with being made to feel like he's a sinner and that he's got something wrong with him. I believe they're in the process of putting him through some kind of deconversion therapy at the moment, which is horrifying. But this didn't, you know, we never even discussed God back in the 80s. It was part of their lives, but it wasn't. It's very different now. And I think we do tend to, as we're atheists on YouTube, we do tend to see a lot of the worst of it, because when I'm in New York, nobody discusses religion. It just doesn't even come into the discussion.
No.
So, well, I think it is not entirely, but it's very much down to the political guidelines. The Republican Party has gone way off to the right in terms of religion.
I also think there's another factor, which is the whole 9/11 thing. That
Sure.
there's been a kind of circling the wagons.
I agree.
It's the equivalent of the whole sort of 1950s stuff with the Red Scare, and that's how God is on the money and in the
Totally. You're absolutely right, Cliff.
Yeah.
The Muslim, the problem that Americans have with Muslims didn't exist before 9/11. It really didn't. I mean, in Washington D.C., there's a huge Afghanistani community who and in New York actually, and they drive, or used to drive taxis. That was the trade for them, and they're virtually non-existent now. And I always, if I do come across a Muslim driving a cab in New York, or because I always chat to taxi drivers, I ask them how things are, and they give me the same answer pretty much all the time. Not much has changed. The same attitudes they're getting.
But I think the problem America had was also like when the white Protestants, fundamentalist Protestants, thought that the demographics and the world viewpoint was under attack. They actually put a lot of money and a lot of effort into taking over the political system, both at a state level and a national level, and therefore they were able, as well as through their talk radio crazy people, they were able to dominate any conversation with the way of them getting into the media and dominating policy. I don't think that really was going on, say, 30 years ago, but over the last sort of 15 years, it's got really, really bad in America, Religion and politics,
The other thing, of course, is that Fox News is incredibly popular with my family. They completely consider it a news source. They don't watch any other news source. They think CNN is a liberal propaganda news channel. And the mere thought of them watching Al Jazeera, it would never happen. But
there was something on I picked up this week where Fox News told the truth 16% of the time or something, and about half the time they were telling something nearish the truth.
I think Al Jazeera is more like the BBC, basically. You know what I mean? They try to be balanced.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, the American media, it strikes me that you can choose which media, in terms of political viewpoint, you get your news from. So it's always going to come through a filter. Now, our news media aren't perfect, but they're certainly nowhere near that degree of partisanship.
Well, they don't have. The thing is that the problem they have in America is that there is no. We're very fortunate on a small island. We get 27 or 28 newspapers. I mean, obviously. Now there's an awful lot more because we've got the internet, but we used to have such a broad range of newspapers, from the Guardian, which used to be a very left-wing newspaper, it isn't anymore, right through to the Telegraph and the Times.
Tory graph.
Yeah, and you had the options. You were also I'm a bit of a fan of the BBC. I know lots of people aren't anymore, but I still am.
I'm with you on this one.
I think it's a really good. I think it's one of the best news sources on the planet. I really do. I don't think that they're they're liberally or even right wing, as some people say, biased. I think they genuinely do try hard to stick to the middle.
No, I was going to say something about the BBC. Do you think that we should allow the BBC to become defunded by their license and enter into the marketplace, basically sold off, like privatised, like everything else?
I was listening to the Radio 4 about this. They had the Ofcom guy and the other guy that wants to. I can't remember the names of these two guys that are talking about doing this. And they're going to have it as a subscription. This guy wants it as a subscription, and I think that would be very sad because there are literally millions of people around the world who rely on the BBC, who aren't paying the license fee, obviously, but it is such a big part of so many people's lives, and it would take that away from so many people, and I think that's why I would be against it.
Yes, I quite agree. I tend to think that if you're getting complaints from the left and the right about your standards of bias, then you're probably doing it about right.
Yeah.
And that's what you're right. That's what it is. It's both sides are complaining that the other side is getting more coverage.
Well, don't get me wrong. I still think that the BBC was biased when it came to the Scottish referendum. I mean, very, very rarely when they had, you know, the two sides, you know, portrayed on the BBC, because normally the BBC is very well, here's this and here's that, but it was very biased to only, well, not only, but mostly showing that the English Parliament's side of the equation. But also what I hate is when something is blatantly, obviously wrong. For instance, when they do like a story about you know, global warming, in no way do I think you need to bring someone in crazy and thinks it isn't happening.
No, I agree with that.
You could just tell the facts as the way that, you know, 95 or 99% of the scientists see it. They shouldn't need to have some crazy man saying, "Oh, it's all fake." And it's all.
There are certain times when the BBC does go overboard in the name of balance, but I would rather have it going overboard in the name of balance than the alternative. So that's a sacrifice I'm prepared to suffer.
To be honest, my favourite news is Channel 4.
Yes, I like Channel 4 actually, but that's because I'm a lefty.
Yeah, but a lot of people would argue that Channel 4 lets too many crazy people on and interviews them, you know. But I love it. I watch news all the time. I'm permanently glued to news, whether it's on the internet, on the television. So I see a whole spectrum of different opinions and views, and so I don't. And sometimes I don't even think about who I'm watching, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying, oh, that's the BBC or that's HuffPost, or I just read it and I take in. I judge it on its merits rather than anything else.
American news, I watch Australian news, I watch European news. I try to find out what's going on all around the world, and because I don't live in these countries, I don't actually know what political, you know, slant each of these stations I might catch bits from are actually slanted towards. But you can normally read through the lines and find out. You know, you can make up your own mind whether it's a right slanted or a slanted sort of media you're watching. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very proud of it. Do you know what? I love I'm not a UKIP crazy or anything like that, but I do love being British, and it's based on the fact that I think we are, and some people will disagree with this, and I understand that there's a lot of issues over immigration at the moment, and part of me understands that the bigger part of me is much more aware. I've travelled the world many times over, and I've seen the real terrible things and poverty and disgusting things, and so when I see people coming over here and taking advantage of let's call them somewhat lax immigration laws, I don't blame them. It's not them. They're just trying to have a better life.
Yeah.
And the tiny minority that are claiming welfare benefits and living in houses, and it's a tiny minority. And I'm very proud of the fact that A, we're multicultural, and B, that we are secular. Even though we're not, we're a theocracy officially. We are secular and open-minded, and we have all this wonderful information flooding into our shores, all this wonderful culture. I'm very proud of that, and I'm so furious right now about what's happening, and how powerful Farage is, and how clever that man is, and how gullible his idiotic followers are. Sorry, end of rant. Sorry.
That's why I always think democracy is a bad idea, because you put the people in charge, it'll all go downhill.
No, I mean, what I hate is the fact of, you know, what Scotland did that referendum, right? And I was for the referendum. I was supposed to become independent. Okay, we didn't get independence, but so I accept the democratic will of the people, you know.
Yeah.
But what I'm hoping is, although we didn't get, you know, independence, I'm hoping that the light being shone on the disappointment and of the Scottish people with the English Parliament, you know, or you should say the British Parliament, I suppose. Hopefully it's woken up the rest of Britain to what's going on.
Yeah.
These parliamentarians are becoming corporate shills, just like the American political system. And if we don't do something to stop it now, we are going to end up like America, where you can just buy a politician and get what you want, and it doesn't matter.
I think we're pretty much there as it is. It's just that we're not so. It's weird. In America, it's as though they're proud of it. They don't really hide it that much. Whereas here, it's all done behind closed doors, in, you know, funny handshakes and all that sort of thing. But the thing that you should be proud of as a Scot is that the gosh, what's it called? The attendance, or what's it called? How many people came out to vote? turnout was amazing. It was
The
incredible.
voter turnout, yeah.
So when you think that the turnout for Obama or for the midterm elections last week or the week before was 34% or something ridiculous like that. And what was yours? 89 or something?
The midterms are always like that, though. The midterms are
I know,
always.
but that's terrible, particularly with the mess that America's in at the moment. There's a massive divide. You just thought that everybody would be out to make a point, but nobody wanted to vote. Whereas in Scotland, it was 89% came out to vote.
I thought it was 83, but I'm not really sure the figures.
But
It was over 80, you know. Yeah.
Either of those numbers.
Imagine if we all did that. If everybody went out to vote, if in next year in the elections, if everybody went out to vote, it would be amazing. But it won't happen.
No.
Well, the thing is, you have to have parties that people are going to actually get behind.
Yeah, that's very true.
We don't have those in this country.
No.
Yeah, that's what I'm disappointed with. I mean, basically, Labour is just Conservative light at the moment.
I have no idea who I'm going to vote
Conservative light. They're no longer what you would call a social anymore, you know.
Well, Tess, I wouldn't even say they're Conservative light, but only because I don't know what the Labour Party actually stands for anymore. I don't know what they actually do.
No, because they're all for the corporatists and the bankers as well. They don't care about the people. They just want your vote when they need it.
Well, Blair changed Labour, didn't he? Let's be honest. Blair turned Labour into just another branch of the Conservative Party. But do you know what I'm going to have to do? Because I live in a staunch Conservative stroke UKIP area. I'm going to have to vote for Tories to make sure those fuckers don't get in.
Yeah.
I am. That's how sad it is. I'm going to have to protest.
See, that's what I was
I actually think UKIP is just
people are going to be choosing between Conservative and UKIP, and what we're going to end up with is a coalition government made up of Conservative and UKIP.
Yeah, that's what scares me. That's what really terrifies me. What's going on with this country? I mean, I was just... Reckless is an idiot. So is the large percentage of people... What's the Indian guy from Bradford or wherever? I mean, I feel for him. He's a token Indian, to promote Farage's bullshit that he welcomes everybody, and he can barely string a sentence together. The man's not particularly bright at all. And as for the guy from Croydon, he's an embarrassment. Can you believe that they even got him representing UKIP? It's
Yes, I can. Yes,
really
I can believe that.
What's wrong with the British people?
Nothing is wrong with the British people.
It's not the British people. It's the way that the Americanisation that started under Thatcher has gradually and slowly invaded our political system, and we didn't do anything to stop it as people. We didn't unelect or refuse to vote for people who were obviously just corporate shills, They talk nice in the street and then they vote bad when they're sitting in the Commons. You've got to pay attention to the votes the people you elect pass. What side of the aisle they vote out, and then unelect them if they're not voting the way you want them to,
What makes me really sad is the fact that so few English people that I'm talking to and I'm seeing on my Facebook accounts as well are lack so much empathy. That's what's really. I mean, I'm very fortunate.
I wouldn't read into Facebook.
No, my friends on Facebook. People that.
I still wouldn't read into Facebook.
But I've had arguments with friends on Facebook over UKIP and immigration over the last few months, and the misinformation and the fact that they're given a few facts from UKIP, obviously, and believe it is really upsetting.
Part of the problem is actually we're all actually a lot better off than we used to be if you go back 50 years or whatever, and of course the richer people become, the more they tend to fear losing it. So of course it's fear of the other. Let's keep the immigrants out so they're going to steal our women and our jobs. So it's just a vicious circle in many ways.
Yeah, but the thing is though, Brian, I made this point earlier before you come in. The UKIP and that have got no interest in keeping immigrants out. Because the thing is, it's the immigrants that keep the wages down. And that's what UKIP's endgame is.
Well, Farage, I think, is for trying to make money, like all the rest of them, but he's just doing a very good impression of a nice cockney that goes down the pub with a pint and a cigarette.
He's a very,
Son of a
very,
banker.
very clever man, Farage. You've got to look at him for what he's achieved in a short period of time. He's very smart.
I think the most expensive thing I saw with Farage is when Channel 4 went with him to Romania. And, they were speaking to people and saying about, would you want to come to England and work here, work there and things like that? And, 99% of the people saying, well, I'm exaggerating, 90% of the people saying, no, we wouldn't want to go there. We like it here. This is home. And we've heard it's raining and horrible over there as well. Things like that. And then he came back and was on the podium saying, I went to Romania and 90% of them said they were going to come here.
Yeah, that's all piss, man. You've got to realise these people are con men, right? All these politicians are con men. They're not politicians. If we were a more religious country, these people would open a mega church and they'd be making millions off of the religious, or they would be healing people by weighing on their hands, like we see in America, because that's a quicker and easier way to make money than being a politician, you know what I mean? But in Britain, we aren't as religious, and therefore the only way for these con men to make money is to con us into electing them as politicians so they can suck off the corporate tip and suck off the state, you know what I mean? That's it.
I have a question, and I may be wrong, I might have imagined this, but I don't think I have. Have UKIP, or somebody from UKIP at any point, said that they would like to see, should have said, criticism of Christianity made illegal?
I don't think so, no.
No.
I think that was Britain First, or one of those crazy lunatic things.
Such like blasphemy laws by the back door, you know what I mean?
No, they haven't said that, but they have kind of hinted at certain things you might think might be a little bit, and I'm speaking as a Christian here, kind of pro-fundamentalist Christianity, which I'm not, of course, which is, for instance, he hasn't endorsed gay marriage, for instance, he refused to. That might make one a bit suspicious.
Yeah, I think in the same way that Cameron has talked about our Christian heritage, I think UKIP tend to be going down the same line, at least publicly.
I know that they're a very tiny group and they're very irrelevant, but they do have more likes than any of the other political parties on Facebook. Britain First have started using the Christian label to justify their hateful and bigoted opinions.
Britain First were always a bunch of racist bastards.
Yeah, I mean they are, but they are. The problem is, and again, I go back to, I've got my sister follows them, and I've told her about 15 fucking times what they are. Yet she keeps posting the stupid animal rescue bollocks that they put up just to get more likes, and it drives me insane.
Thing is though, is what someone just mentioned. I don't know whether they mentioned Britain First, but were you one, weren't it? And and were you that said they were hiding, mentioning Christianity in their propaganda?
It started all over the last, because I'm a member of exposing Britain First. Yeah, so I get to look at what they're up to, and they've recently, over the last week or two, claimed that they're Christians and that they go to church. And the last little thing that Jaden or Jada or whatever her name is, she's vile, and her boyfriend Paul Golding, who run Britain First, did was suggest that they were going to where they're building a new mosque, not a brand new mosque, but they are rebuilding a mosque on land that already had a mosque on it. They're going to dig a hole and put a pig in, so that what's it called, consecrated land or deconsecrated land, whatever, I don't know. Apparently it's against the Islamic law. Now, I'm no fan of Islam, let me assure you, but this obsession with Muslims, and that's all it is. They don't discuss any other religion, any other group of people. It's totally Muslims that they've got the issue with.
Yeah, they're hiding their racism behind.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly.
Well, now the Protestants and Catholics are basically stop murdering each other. You've got all these crazy people who need someone to pick on and murder, and it's like, who can we can't do it with the Catholics anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah. All those dirty Muslims,
Yeah.
It used to be the Irish a few years ago, didn't it? But they're all right now.
Used to be the what, sorry?
The Irish, not that long ago. No blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Yes.
Now it's no Muslims.
Never mind about women and how Christians treated women up until about, it was only made illegal in 1991. Marital rape was only made illegal in 1991. Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
Amazing, isn't it?
But when I mention Britain First, the point I want to make is, I think it's like what Hitchens always says, He goes, you can have scoundrels and all this lot. He says, but for people to do for the real evil things, that's what you need religion for. So it's interesting that these fucking idiots are starting to. I mean, you can't tell me that any of these fucking hooligans who were in Britain first, you can't tell me that any of those believe in God in any way, shape,
Absolutely.
or form.
I've said to them over and over again, which church do you go to? They don't go to any church.
Religion's always been a useful tool for people who are not really religious or believe in God to use as a tool to gain power and create paranoia and fear, because that's how people get power.
Well, Fox News is a perfect example of that. Look at Bill O'Reilly and that twat Glenn Beck. You know,
Yeah, Hannity. Yeah. But I mean, I've talked to Christians and argued with them, on hangouts, and you ask them, as you said, well, what church do you go to? What denomination are you? They say, oh, well, I'm a Congregationalist. I was like, what's a fucking Congregationalist? I've never heard of it. Now, well, we only have the one church. So it's just this one little building, and everybody in that all believes the same thing, and they don't link themselves to any, there's no higher up who can tell their pastor what to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thing is, if you then call them for selective morality, they don't like that.
Yeah. But that just you're crazy. You're like, what do you call those crazy people who go to the soldiers' burials in America?
Oh, God,
Fred Phelps.
Well, if you're Congregationalist, it's just another version of the Phelps, isn't you?
I wonder what the Westboro Baptist Church people are like on e-cigarettes, because I know they don't like fags, but what are they like for e-cigarettes?
Oh, Cliff, your jokes are so fucking bad.
That's going to be a sign. I think we have to make that a sign.
I've got one here, look.
What's that? Westboro loves e-cig.
You should change your name to Bad Joker, not Cliff Jumper. Honestly.
It's what he's known for.
Barred from anymore, thank you. Too depressing.
Next, did we tell you the joke about two drums and a cymbal falling off a cliff?
By the way, Wayne, the guy you were thinking of is Stephen Weinberg, who said that religion is an insult to human dignity. With or without it, you'd have good people doing good things and evil people doing evil things. But for good people to do evil things, that takes religion.
Well, I that's a good little saying, but I don't believe it's actually true. All you need for good people to do an evil thing is for one, a group of people to have an ideology that's overpowering and control of your society, and two, the fear that if you don't conform to it, you're going to be the next one picked on, and then good people will follow and do that evil in order to survive.
Yeah, in fairness, it's a good quote, but not something I actually agree with. At least not without a good deal more nuance.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I hear a little bit of that when I hear the fundies, When I hear Campbell
you can certainly apply it to
and, stuff like that, and they think they're good people.
You can certainly apply it to fundies, but I don't think it's exclusive to religion whatsoever.
No, as I was going to say, if you were living in Russia under Stalin, or I can't remember the name of the country under Pol Pot.
Cambodia.
Cambodia under Pol Pot. It wasn't religion that did it, but people did horrible things for fear that they would be the next one on the chopping block if they didn't do what was expected, and horrible things that were expected to do in the name of the state. So ideologies, really hard, bad ideologies can get the same result as a horrible religion.
Wayne? Don't lick your knife, please, it's rude.
Don't go Matthew Bell on me. That would be a valid point if you were in the same room as me.
What are you eating anyway?
Food.
I had pork pie with the chutney and coleslaw and just a few cream crackers and cheese on the side.
Oh, it sounds quite nice. I might have to go and get something. Nice piece of cheese.
No, that was my last piece of cheese.
You know you can put your camera off when you're eating in front of the camera so people can get disgusted.
I love Wayne.
I didn't catch that one, did this.
Oh God, my Staffordshire Bull Terrier has just farted. Oh.
As long as it's not a butcher's dog.
Is that what you call your boyfriend?
I don't have a boyfriend. Nobody wants me because I'm too difficult.
Except for you want Wayne, though.
I thought
No, she's already rejected me. She's already rejected me as just a friend.
I love him, but he doesn't love me.
No, I just thought it was a pet name because some of my girlfriends used to call me Donkey, but that was for a different reason.
Well, Annabelle doesn't like my sense of humour, so there's nothing.
No, I don't. It's all jokes, which are utterly and totally crap. There is not one time I've ever heard you come out with a funny joke. Sorry, Cliff. It's just
Oh, God Almighty!
empirical evidence of that as well.
YouTube drama.
Yeah, I'm throwing all my toys out the pram. Oh, Molly. Oh, Christ. Oh, God. Why do dogs?
But the thing is,
why are dogs fart so much worse than human ones? Oh, God.
You've not smelt my brothers.
Oh. Anyway, what were we talking about? We were having a sensible conversation about politics.
Yeah, what were I going to say? No,
we've got to.
Did anybody watch the actual Ran and Alex video?
Yeah.
Can I just go back to something you said earlier on? We're on about that quote not being valid, and then Cliff touched on saying that the fund is a similar sort of thing. Now, I might have got me philosophy way off here because I'm shit at it, but hang on, I got an echo.
I've got a massive echo. I don't know who it is.
Is it me?
Don't know.
Do me a favour, mute yourself for a moment. Let's see.
All right. Right. Okay.
But I want to say, yeah. So but with religion, they can claim that epistemic warrant, can't they? Still got an echo.
Not me.
I'll mute myself and see if it's me.
Yeah, I think it's.
Yeah. So like, even though I know it's still there.
No, it's not me.
It must be Cliffhanger.
Cliff, it's you.
Annabelle, keep yourself
Cliff.
until we find out, you know. Have they mute yourself except Wayne?
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay now. Yeah, so like, even though they're not religious, religion's such a mindfuck that they can claim it, and everybody just grants it a pass.
Yeah.
So if these Britain First say, "Oh yeah, we're Christians," you're not getting a lot of people saying they're not, because our people say, "Oh no, well they're Christians, respect the beliefs."
You have to respect the beliefs.
Yeah. So no, but I mean, I'm not having a go at Christians of this. I'm having a go at the
people who.
Yeah.
You mean the good Christians that fail to come out and say, "Oh, you're not Christians, mate. Shut up."
No, but I think in Britain, I think that the figures are something like 36% of people say that they're atheist or agnostic. Although the figure might be higher because a lot of people write down that they're religious, but they never go to church, and they only put it in there because their parents are religious, but they don't feel it, but they put it in there anyway, you know. So there's probably only about 40% of Britain really that's actually religious and goes to church on a regular basis, you know.
Well, it's like on one of the censuses, my dad, cause I live at my parents' house, and on the last census, I come home from work and my dad had just finished filling it in, and he filled my bit in for me. And I says, "What did you put about religion, Dad?" He says, "Well, I put you down as Church of England." I says, "You what?" I says, "Get that crossed out." He says, "Oh no, you're not allowed to cross it out."
Yeah, put Muslim in there.
So I'm registered as Church of England, and this is the thing. People tend to people think, well, it's like who made this argument? I think it was Dawkins who made the argument that when people say, "Why do you say you're a Christian?" when they're not, because I like to think of myself as a good person. And I think it's the mindfuck element that people, even though they don't believe in God,
When you're a disgrace to atheism.
So I think even though they're not Christians, they've put the Church of England down on the census. I think
Well,
that's where the
we,
figures
we
get
were,
skewed
our
from.
generation, for most part, was brought. We all went to Bibles to Sunday school, and so you just automatically, unless you are quite like us, you're quite not anti-religion, but atheist. Then you've got no reason to write anything else. But why would you? I mean, I've got most of my friends and family, other than my family in Mississippi, are not religious at all. And so many of them I have discussions with, and they laugh at the idea of religion or the idea of there being a big God in the sky. If that's what my friends group is like, and I've got friends from all walks of life, then surely most people in this country are in the same position. Surely.
But what I'm saying is the statistics get skewed because of people being nice.
Well, that's right, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. My friends would probably still put down they were Church of England.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's happening is when somebody's saying, oh, people are more and more people are. Hang on, what's the argument I want to make? When they say Britain's still a Christian country, and the figures show it, right? Because they've got that warrant from that census.
Well, there was a survey that just came out. I think it was 60% of people are not religious, but still, but I think I reckon it's probably more 80%. But Dawkins did do a survey after the census came out, and it was quite low, I think, the non-religious. I think it was something like 39% or something. He had another Gallup poll done, or a survey done, about, and the questions were different. Rather than the questions that were on the census, he asked questions like, do you go to church? Do you believe in a God? And it came back much higher, something like 69% do not believe in a monotheistic God. So I think as a country we probably are very atheistic. That's just my
but the census were like an overwhelming majority theistic.
Yeah, I think you've got to question how these questions are being answered. You know, when you get a form to answer this question of what scenario, is it just like a line that you write in what your religion is, or is it like boxes that you tick? Because if they're putting boxes in for you to tick, there's only a few boxes for you to tick, and some people might look at it and say, well, there's Christian, Muslim, Jew, and none, or maybe there's a couple of Asian ones in there, But I mean, what if you're Buddhist and there isn't a box for it? You know what I mean? So you just.
I'm pretty sure.
You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure if you're none, that makes you Catholic, doesn't it?
Well, that's always been the joke that I've made. I'll take John.
Is that any better, Annabelle?
I see what you're talking about, Annabelle. His jokes are terrible.
I know. See what I mean?
In defence of Cliff, that's a joke that I've made for years.
It's not really a joke, is it? Let's be honest.
No.
Yeah,
right, here
in much the same way.
I've got it.
In much the same way as those on lollipop sticks aren't jokes.
Yeah.
They're odd questions.
Yeah.
Interesting, silly questions. They're not jokes.
Yeah.
Is that called soliloquy? When you do that, when you make a twisted statement about something as if you misunderstood what the words.
No, that's not soliloquy.
Oh, what is it then? I'm sure there's a name for it. When you deliberately make yourself out to appear stupid and didn't understand what the words mean.
Christian.
Well, there's Nadia's here. Nadia, you might know the word for it because you're pretty well educated in that.
My audio is only so good. You'll have to slow down a little bit when you ask what the definition is, or what the word is for the definition.
What it was is the word none, as in N-O-N-E, was spoken, and what you call Cloth Jumper took it to mean none, as in N-U-N.
Oh yeah.
So that form of humour, is there a word for that?
It's not a Bowdlerism, is it, or something?
Oh, that's homophone, error, or
pun.
Sorry?
The pun, surely.
Well, okay, it's fun.
Anybody that wants to find out about that survey that Dawkins did, I've put a link there.
They're homophones, yeah. Puns.
Yeah.
Double entendre, and so on.
Sorry, I thought it was a slightly different question, which is why
Was that the Science Atheist video? Is that the bubonic dunce video?
I just put that up in the chat because in case people haven't seen it. But
I should mention between nunsploitation and all of the fun parts of Opus Dei, the flagellation and silices and so on. Epi almost converted me to Christianity.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Bless him.
Hang on, I missed that. What did Nadia say? What did you say, Nadia?
I said between nunsploitation, and all the fun parts of Opus Dei, like the flagellation and the silices, Epi and Fiona almost converted me to Christianity. Catholicism, of course.
You need to find yourself a club, Nadia. I'm sure there's clubs for that. Without joining a
Oh,
religious.
yeah, I go to that. Yeah.
I'm pretty. I live opposite a Catholic cathedral, and I watch them all the time and what they get up to. And yeah, well, drive me fucking insane. Well, I lost my rag with one last year, and I told him he was a paedophile apologist. It didn't go down very well. But I do have an issue with anyone that's Catholic. I know this might be offensive to some, and even probably controversial, but I think anyone who is a member of the Catholic Church, seems to turn a blind eye to what is still going on, and that does really bug me.
I see. I don't know about that. I mean, people know this is wrong. I mean, you talk to Fiona, and she's on with you all the way. That it's wrong.
But then you see, that's my problem. Is that she might be with me all the way, but yet she still believes and follows that doctrine.
Well, the thing is, the doctrine doesn't explicitly, allow paedophilia.
No, I know that. I'm not saying that she.
The problem
I didn't know that. What I'm saying is that we all know that. Well, okay. I am of the subjective opinion, although there are quite a lot of objective facts to back my opinion up, is that the Catholic organisation is a criminal organisation and has covered up literally thousands and thousands of cases of paedophilia.
Well, Annabelle.
It's also in rather a lot of trouble with the financial industry as well, but that's all. Somehow they managed to keep that very quiet and under wraps.
Annabelle.
Yeah.
In terms of the financial stuff, I forgot. I'm terrible with names. I forgot Nadia's name. Then Nadia's already mentioned the real crux in the Catholic Church, and that's the Opus Dei.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's who really we're talking about, isn't it? I mean, the fact that the Pope was retired for the first time ever in the history of the Church because he was liable to be prosecuted. But, all that stuff. You add it all together, it's pretty serious stuff. Any other organisation, any other corporate organisation that was responsible for so much criminal activity would have been shut down. But yet it's still got millions and millions of followers.
I would still say you're wrong about the corporates shutting down as well. I mean, there's been a huge amount of fraud in London. Them fixing the what do you call it, the exchange rate and all that. And not a single person has been arrested and put in jail for it. And look at the crash of the economy in 2007, 2008. Not a single corporate head of any of these bankers' organisations in America being arrested. You know what I mean? A few underlying.
I wasn't talking about the financial side of it. I was talking about the child abuse side of it. If you had a corporation that was the head of its on its board of directors was responsible for hiding away thousands and thousands of cases of child abuse, it would have been shut down.
Well, what about the child abuse and the government in Britain at the moment, and that's all being covered up.
These cases are now being looked at. I mean, I'm a victim of child abuse, so perhaps that's why I'm a little bit more passionate about it. I, as a child, was never even considered telling anyone about it. When I did actually get round to telling my mother in my 20s, she didn't believe me. That's how difficult it is for children and even for women to
Yeah, but
come out.
you might be a victim of it though, Annabelle. But the thing is, like, it's happened in my area. And
Oh no, I get that. I mean, I'm just as angry about that as everybody else. Don't you know? But I'm saying that they are being there are what do you call it? I've gone blank. Things are happening. There are, you know, this whole thing about Neon Britain and all that's all coming out in the wash now, and more people are standing up and saying we need this to be looked into. Whereas this is not happening with the Catholic Church. And my issue as well isn't just the fact that okay, let's take the corporates out of it for a minute. The Catholic Church is supposed to be a moral authority. That's what it sells itself on. That's what it's done for hundreds of years. You know, centuries. It's gone round the world and told everybody that it is the truth and the way and whatever else it says. Yet it is one of the most.
Tell you what, I
religions.
would love to have been a fly on the wall when the meeting where it was decided that Benedict resigns.
Yeah.
Because the topic of that conversation will be how do we save or how do we prevent the death of this church? Because if the top man would have been, well, if he hadn't, well, obviously it wouldn't have been allowed to happen because that's how they stopped it happening by him resigning.
I think if he hadn't resigned, he'd probably have poisoned his tea one night like they did with one other pope, I think. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is these kids that have been abused for years in children's homes, where the government and the councils have got a legal obligation of care, and it's been covered up for all these years, and all that paperwork that was gathered on it was lost by some fucking lord who himself might be involved in the paedophilia himself, and they keep trying to get people who are linked to politicians to take charge of these inquiries. They don't want an independent inquiry. They want someone who can shuffle the paper and lose stuff and then make a decision. Well, we can't come to a decision because there's not enough evidence or some fucking thing. I think there's something really serious going on in the political system, that these people are all involved and they want to cover it up because they don't want the government to fall. You know?
I don't agree with everything you've said, but I agree with the majority of it. I'm just as angry about that as I am with the Catholic Church. My point initially was, I do not understand anyone. I'm angry with the Tories and I'm angry with the Labour. I don't know who to vote for, and the only option I've got is to vote for the Tories to stop UKIP from getting in. I would love to vote for the Green Party, but I can't because it's not going to make any difference, and UKIP could get in if I do that. So that's that.
Well, there's a peculiar.
My issue is with the people who follow the Catholic religion, irrespective of whether they're moderate or whether they're fundamentalists. They are still, in my opinion, supporting a criminal organisation. That's all really. That I mean, I can't really say the same about the Church of England because we just don't have the same kind of prolific child abuse scandals that are coming up all the time. So I'm and also Church of England moderates. Well, I don't know. You just don't come across them these days. I just don't get moderate Catholics. I don't get them.
The thing is, Amber, I mean, in terms of you saying that you want what would you want the moderate Catholic layperson to actually do in reaction?
Well, I would just to not follow it anymore because they are clearly a criminal organisation.
Okay, but the thing is,
by all means, carry on believing in God if that's what you wish to do, but to follow a specific.
I see where Alan is going at.
To follow a specific organisation that is a criminal organisation is, in my opinion, wrong. If you want to believe in God, I genuinely have no issue with anyone believing in whatever they want, as long as it doesn't impact laws and education. However, by continuing to support such a vile and disgusting organisation, you're prolonging the fact that they've got power, and the Catholic Church has a lot, particularly around here, has an awful lot of power.
Thing is, Annabelle, I don't think that people actually think they're supporting that by being lay people within the Catholic Church, they are supporting the paedophiles.
I'm not saying they're supporting the paedophiles.
No. But
they're supporting an organisation that's criminal.
No, my point is because they don't see themselves as supporting the criminals, they're not going to leave.
No, I'm not. I know they're not going to leave. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. That I'd like to see them show a little bit of what's the
You
word?
did just say you hope they leave.
Well, yeah, I'm just
don't
I'm
believe
just
in
trying
God.
to, hang on a second. I'm trying to think of the word that I want to use. I'd like to see them use a little bit of well, kind of morality in a way, and say, you know what, this is wrong. This church that I go to every week and I give money to are criminals. Yeah, but I don't see it happening because they just stick their head in the sand and pretend it's not.
Gosh, Christian cognitive dissonance. Whatever next.
I get it, yeah. But that's what I mean. This is why I get angry about people that say moderates are fine. I personally don't think they are.
Well, I think you have to be careful with going down that road because moderates are the very people you might have the same goals in common with, and if you alienate them, you
Yes.
might kiss goodbye to any chance of changing it.
I don't think so. I think that the moderates, in the country that I live in, most people are not. Well, in my circles, definitely. I don't have to deal with religion, fortunately, except for the fact I live opposite one of the massive cathedral. But I don't think. I think that the problem with I'm really kind of I'm using a broad brush and I shouldn't. Okay, I'm really talking about Catholic moderates. I'm not really talking about Church of England moderates because genuinely they just don't get. They don't get involved.
Church of England is moderate by definition.
Sorry? Yeah, well, exactly. But I think most of you know what I'm trying to get at, and I'm probably not being very eloquent in the way I'm trying to explain it, because I'm quite passionate about it. And again, this goes back to my own experiences. I think that it just makes my blood boil that so many people are getting away with it, and it's all been brushed under the carpet, and just the same as the Rotherham situation and the Leon Britton situation and the Conservative government back in the 70s. I mean, I was saying to Wayne last night, I worked in London in Soho in the late 70s, early 80s, and the mentality towards people was very different back then. It was perfectly acceptable to a certain degree. And what's all coming out now is not a shock to me at all. But the Rotherham situation is very different, I think, to the Conservative or the government paedophile ring situation. The Rotherham situation is a bunch of very unpleasant young men taking full advantage of young women. That's what it is. I don't honestly think it's got anything to do with Islam.
Well, what about the BBC?
How is that different to the Conservative government paedophile ring?
Because back then they got away with it. It was acceptable in society.
Well, some would argue that Rotherham got away with it. The people in Rotherham got away with it for 10 years. So that's still pretty relatively acceptable.
But it was more about. It's so difficult for me to explain without telling you part of my history, and I don't really want to do that.
No, that's fair.
What I'm trying to say is that young women are very easily. What's happened in Rotherham? It's more to do with. If I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong. It's more to do with young women getting influenced by young Muslim men. Is that right?
I don't think it's strictly Muslim. I think it was majority Muslim, but not entirely.
Okay, but it's more about sort of teenage girls getting drugged and drunk and being used as being used as prostitutes, correct?
Or they were effectively being groomed. What would happen is that
they weren't tiny
they'd
children,
meet some
right?
guys at the park, and then they would be sort of handed through to another chain, which was someone who was older, and then someone who was older again. And they were given gifts and so on, and drugs and drink, and
Well, that happened to me when I was in my teens.
But that's why I think that the Catholic Church and the politicians that are involved in going to these, child secure homes, that's an abuse of power. It's different from the girls wanting to go and get drunk and stoned and then being, raped or whatever. These were the Catholic priests and the politicians that might be involved in these paedophile abuse cases. That's an abuse of power. These children were trapped and couldn't go anywhere, basically, you know what I mean?
I'll grant you that distinction up to a point.
These young girls will be affected for the rest of their lives from what happened to them. And probably most of them won't be able to have normal, healthy relationships or trust anybody for the rest of their lives. So what the impact of abuse, whether it's somebody who's 8 years old or 14 years old, it's very similar. It's not, it's not going to make much difference, the fact that there was a difference in who was doing it and their reasons. However, going back to my original point, my issue isn't. I have an issue with child abuse. Full stop. It's disgusting. There's no excuse for it. There's no law that's strong enough, as far as I'm concerned. Although that leads to another argument about whether we should rehabilitate or whether we should just lock them up. But that's another argument. But the situation is that the Catholic Church, its whole doctrine relies on moral authority, God being this wonderful person who, and also, the whole thing is about how right they are and how important they are and how everybody should follow this church and give it money and everything. Meanwhile, it's a criminal organisation. That's the issue I have. I don't think the government, well, I suppose you could say it does, but really on the whole, governments or the group of parties that we have that's our government are not jumping up and down claiming to be the moral authority and using religious beliefs, fantasies in my opinion, to justify that. That's my issue.
I'm not sure. I don't think that's correct. I mean, if you look at when John Major was in power, he did that whole thing about back to basics and teaching people, the moral basics, and he was knocking off.
Well, didn't it?
What's her name at the same time? Edwina Curry.
But it wasn't based on fear and going to
No,
hell.
it was based on a moral authority.
I think this is the difference between what I'm saying. I think this is the difference between the political thing that's going on about in the moment and the Catholic Church. A lot of the people who covered up what happened in the Catholic Church weren't paedophiles themselves, but they feared what would happen if they were to expose the paedophiles within their ranks. It would damage the Catholic Church, and so they did what they did to protect the Catholic Church and abuse of power. And I think it's the same thing with the politicians who aren't paedophiles and perhaps found out about, political, paedophiles, abusing children. They covered it up to protect the political party, not to protect the paedophile. I think in the case of these kids in Rotherham or whatever it was a case of people who were in charge of these teenage girls in these homes. They didn't have the power to stop the girls from leaving the home. They didn't have the power to stop them from leaving and being abused. And so
No, you don't. I was in care from when I was 12 years old, and I ran away hundreds of times. I was always drunk. I was either stoned or drunk, or the whole situation was a joke. That was obviously back in the 70s and 80s, but it was, you can't stop you can't stop a teenager doing what the fuck they want, particularly a delinquent teenager, one who does not give a fuck about rules or regulations.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's not the people in these homes that are at fault. They don't have the power to stop you from climbing out a window. And
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. That my issue right from the beginning of my point was that, my point was that I don't understand moderate Catholics that support the Catholic Church. That was my point.
I think it's dangerous to sort of lump someone who is a believer in the religion and the church that they follow, rather than acts of individual people. That would be the equivalent of saying, well, all Muslims are. We should hold all Muslims responsible for what happened to that drummer guy.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I said to you, and I'll say it again. I do not understand how moderate believers in the Catholic Church support a criminal organisation. I'm not saying that would be like me saying that everybody who's a Catholic church member is a paedophile. Of course, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that I don't understand it. I've got very little respect. I've got one of my closest friends is a Catholic. Well, not my closest friend. That's bullshit. Acquaintance in this town is a Catholic church member, and he's lovely. He was my builder, actually. He built my extension, and he's one of the nicest people you'll meet. But we do clash badly over this subject, and he just smiles at me. He smiles at me benevolently and pats me basically on the head, metaphorically, and just sort of says, "Oh well, I do love everybody, and I don't feel," and I just don't understand how somebody he is a really good guy can choose to completely shut off the fact that the organisation that he believed in.
The thing is, Annabelle, I think it's because they link the organisation to their religion, and they don't necessarily make a distinction between the two, or at least if they do, they don't. the
And that's what
paedophile.
I don't understand, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that all Catholics are paedophiles and support
No, no.
paedophilia. I'm saying that I don't understand how people can shut off a really serious situation, very serious situation. It's not, and again, it's not just children that were abused by priests, the nuns, the babies, the terrible
physical.
atrocities.
Yeah.
We're talking about centuries of just vile behaviour.
And mental abuse, yeah. It's not sexual; it's physical and mental abuse. But I think the reason that Catholics can still go to the church is because the Catholic Church is still a predominantly the church tells you what your religion is. You can only get that religion by going to the church and being given communion and stuff like that. You don't get that in the Protestant church, where if you don't like what your pastor and these people are thinking or saying or doing, you can go home and just read the Bible yourself. This is what happened during the Reformation. People were told, here's the Bible in your own language. You can take it home and read it yourself. You don't need someone to tell you how to interpret it. But the Catholic Church is still like the Muslim Church. You need to have someone to tell you how to read it and how to understand it, and that's why these people are still connected to their church, and they see these individuals who have done horrible things as sinners who should, when they find out about them, be cast out. But it's not the church's fault; it's these individuals' fault. I think that's the problem here. You know?
The thing is, Annabelle. I mean, if you were to turn around to a Catholic, I don't understand what you expect a Catholic layperson to do.
To use some
that they're not doing.
To have some morality and say, you know what, I belong to a church that covers up child abuse. I belong to an organisation that for hundreds of years have abused children and women, and it continues to do so.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
Don't know. Whatever they want to do, but don't ask me to respect them.
But I mean, every large organisation in the world is going to have paedophiles in it. If you ask everyone to leave every large organisation that has paedophiles in it on the grounds that they're a criminal organisation, everyone is going to leave every single organisation. What about the fact that some parts of the organisation are deemed to be good? Perhaps they're sticking to that part.
Difference between every other organisation, although I'm not sure, whether these are corporate organisations or just groups of people, I don't know. But this particular organisation uses its Bible and its doctrines to bash people around the head, in particular those who are homosexual, and yet doesn't seem to have a problem. Well, that's not true. Okay. Yet some of its believers, some of its followers ignore that or follow that doctrine, yet ignore the fact that the Catholic Church as a whole has a terrible history of abuse.
All Christian religions speak badly of gays, but there's not a single word in the Bible about paedophilia.
But hang on a sec, but this is what I'm trying to say. This is why I've got an issue with the Catholic Church, because it's the most hypocritical religion other than Islam, which is just as bad. It's the other most hypocritical religion out there.
I think the gay subject is probably a good example. Increasingly, there are churches coming out saying that homosexuals are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. We're reinterpreting the Bible and so on and so forth. Now, if they'd all walked away and given up on it, there wouldn't be any Christian organisation.
Other churches. I keep saying that I'm talking about the Catholic Church. Now,
I know you're talking about them, but there might be Catholics in the Catholic Church who don't agree with the paedophilia. They themselves are not paedophiles; they're just lay people, and they are hoping to. They're probably supporting the people who they deem as good, who are not paedophiles, and in that way, hopefully, it will be edged out.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is, Annabelle, that basically.
What you're doing is you're rewording what I'm actually saying. I have never once said that these people agree with paedophilia. I have said that they're aware of it, that it's there.
And they don't speak out strongly enough against it.
That's right, and they don't speak out very strongly against homosexuality. Recently, the Pope said something along the lines of, we really need to try and understand these people. And what happened? Immediately, half of his leaders or the men that work with him or the puppet masters told him he was wrong. So, this is my issue. It's not with the people. That I just think I don't think they follow paedophilia or want to slaughter homosexuals, but they follow an organisation that fully that's a criminal organisation and does have an issue with homosexuality. And as far as I'm concerned, and I'm not gay, I'm straight, or anyone that's got an issue with homosexuality has a problem. The fact they don't read up and learn and find out. I mean, only just the other day, a new study has come out to say that, I mean, in layman's terms, the chances of being a choice are literally zero now. Do they read that stuff? No, of course they don't. They don't
Some
want
of
to read.
them do. I know gay Catholics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look up Andrew Sullivan.
I'm sure you do, and I know gay Muslims. All I'm saying is that to follow this, and I feel the same way about Islam as well, by the way, when it comes to homosexuality and certain issues with other things. When you follow a religion actively, I'm not saying that you were a Catholic when you were 9 years old and you're a lapsed Catholic now. I'm talking about actively going into a Catholic church or calling yourself a Catholic and being somewhat proud of it, then I do not understand why. That's all I'm saying.
It might be they're proud of the good bits.
Yeah, exactly. The cherry pickers. These are the people.
Everyone's a cherry picker. There's no such thing as a person on the planet that isn't a cherry picker.
People are hypocrites.
If you support democracy, you're going to belong to one party or another.
If you follow a religion, you should follow it.
Of course it's political, but religion is also political.
Yeah, well, fine, okay. I don't see it like that, but it is for the people at the top.
Well, it's part of the human condition. You can't edit out religion. I mean, it's going to be there.
Religion. That's again, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, when people give up Orthodox religion, they end up going to a woo-woo thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. They end up worshipping spiritualism or trees or some esoterical thing that's out there that's the whole universe mind or something, or aliens. Some people need to believe in something outside and beyond themselves that they think is great, that might be able to just secretly give them some power. It's like children. When you see children talking about all the attributes that these imaginary friends that they've got have, or these imaginary superheroes they're thinking up. If you listen to kids talking about that stuff, it sounds exactly like religious people talking about the attributes of their God. You know what I mean? They just make shit up.
Yeah, I mean, we all know it's all one true. We all know it's all one big part of the one true religion, the flying spaghetti monster. Anyway, right?
Right, I'm getting off because I'm tired. But I just wanted to ask Annabelle. Annabelle, how long were I asleep last night before you screamed in my ear to wake me up?
About half an hour.
Because the thing is, I was actually dreaming about Tonya and Eve, and no, I'm messing. I wasn't in that. No. When I woke up, I actually forgot the dream I was having straight away. And I'm thinking, but I do remember in the dream hearing this really shrill voice saying, "Wayne, wake up, wake up!" And I did wake up. And
are you saying that I've got a shrill voice, Wayne?
You did last night. In my dream, your voice was shrill.
Listen, but you did. It was quite funny because you woke up, you went, and you looked up, you went like that. Your eyes were right out, and you just smiled at me. I went, "Wake up, dear."
I laughed because I got it. You were speaking, and I actually found it because I just snapped straight awake when I went. You know what I mean? I wasn't bleary at all. I went straight outside and had a cigarette, and then went to bed. Yeah, so actually while you were like saying, yeah, we're rounding up the hangout now, and I were actually sat here laughing, or listening to you carry on talking. Right, so yeah, nice chat, people.
Wayne, see you later.
Catch you soon.
Yeah, I'm going to go as well. It's 2:10 now. I'm going to go and watch a movie. I'll catch you guys again some other time, hopefully. It's been a nice conversation.
For coming by.
Oh,
I think I'm going to end the live part. We've had a fairly consistent number of viewers, about a dozen. So if you're still watching, thanks for watching, and hope you'll see them again.